And hello, everyone, and welcome to Uncivil Law, where, as always, we learn through the misfortunes of others. I am your host, Uncivil Law, and we are here in our continuing coverage of the Alex Murdaugh murder trial, where the state's case continues, with the witnesses from SLED providing some information. Today, we finally got some information that at least somewhat could suggest that Alex Murdaugh is the murderer. It was nice for a change, because we got something that's a little bit more concrete. We have shells and casings that have been recovered from the murder scenes, and the head stamps of this match ammo that was kept in the Murdaugh home. So Murdaugh had ammo in his house that's of the same manufacturer, same kind that was used in the murders. Now, this ammo is somewhat common, but then again, there's a lot of different kinds of ammo that is also potentially common. So this information is at best partially suggestive. Right? It is a piece of the puzzle, along with perhaps other things that are going on in the scene that might suggest that he is the murderer. But as we've at least learned from the defense's objections, they think that these guns were not the guns that were used, and they think the testing excludes the guns that were found as being guns that were used during the murder and stuff like that. So all those things. Okay. And I will give you the Twitter link in case I forgot. Let me do that real fast because someone was asking for it and I might have forgotten to put it in there because it's always something. It's always something every day. Okay, let's see. No. Yes, I did forget. No problem. Please retweet. Give you a little cowboy hat action. Link. Great. In that. So all those who have the Twitters, if you'd be so kind as to retweet the pinned link for this afternoon stream, that would be fantastic. And we have crime scene images, including maps that apparently are available on the Twitters. Let me see if I can find them. Let's see. Notifications, maybe mentions. I see the docs from Chelsea a little while ago, but I don't see the maps, or at least that someone tweeted them to me. So we'll have to make do without. But we will press on. And as we need more evidence, we'll try to bring it in the stream as well. Okay. I had sort of lost my train of thought there for a second. Anyways, so we have some evidence that might suggest that the ammo that was used during the murders is similar to the ammo that was used during the commission of the crime. It would be nice if we had a little bit more. We might be able to get a little bit more from this witness. We'll see, particularly with respect to the shotgun shells, because we know that they recovered shotgun pellets from the scene. And so it'd be nice to say, okay, this was the same load that was used, right? It's the same size same size shot that was used as found in his gun. It'd be nice if we had a way to test the gunshot residue and say, okay, it's the same manufacturer, because we can tell that, and some other evidence. But at least we have some indications of things that are going on right now. Thank you for all the retweeterings. Thank you for all the retweets and stuff. It really does help all the things. And 19 of you have so far hit that beautiful, beautiful retweet button. Outstanding. And we had 500 people watching this morning, which was also outstanding. Char Anderson says, keep up the gym. I'm going to try to go to the gym today after this. I'm going to try, as soon as this stream is done, to go to the gym, because I've learned the hard way. If I wait any longer than that, it tends not to happen. But I'm going to try to go after that and see how that goes. Core TV has some stuff on their website. Let me check out their website. Okay, yeah, so they have some of the they have some photos on their website. Okay, so Core TV has some stuff with some of the bags and stuff that was collected. Okay, cool. Not sure how helpful some of this stuff is, but we can take a look at some of these photos while we're waiting. We can take a look at some of the stuff while we're waiting. It's better than nothing, right? Let's see. Okay. So here's some of the here's some of the evidence that's been collected so far. One of the casings that was recovered from the scene. Another casing recovered. Some shoes. Look like shoes that might have created the footprints we've heard about. Water from the kennel area. Picture of the kennel, or picture of the outhouse or the side house. Some footprints or lack thereof. Footprints. One of the shotguns that was recovered. Shotgun again in court. Some of the bags of ammo and stuff that was recovered. So, some things that were helpful. Some more of the stuff that was recovered from the scene. Maggie's flip-flops. Yeah, that's probably about right.
All the jurors are present.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court. Senior Special Agent Croft, a couple things I want to kind of go back to just as a housekeeping matter before we move on to new matter. And
Is there any reason anyone other than him would kill him, his wife, his son? Oh yeah, we can think of some possibilities for sure. Yeah, if we're speculating alternative suspects into existence, oh yeah.
all right, so we'll show you some images.
Yeah, there's definitely some possibilities for sure.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit. I'm going to do them first. 163, 173, 158, 175, 176, 177, 179, 180, 181, and 183. And just have you generally flip through those and see if you recognize those images.
Yeah, yeah. $10 million worth of reasons. Yeah, that for sure. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yes, sir, I do.
All right, and just generally, what are these images of, if you would?
Those are still images taken from my body-worn camera the day of the 8th.
So these are still images from the body-worn cameras that the jury saw prior to lunch?
That is correct.
All right, Your Honor, this time the state would move in states 163, 173, 15, 175, 176, 177, 179, 180, 181, and 183, I believe, without objection.
No objection.
Admitted.
All right, let's go through these real quick if we could, if I could get the input to the Elmo. Looks like it is on the Elmo. All right. We got this fancy hood up here. See if that'll do better for us. All right, can you tell me what this image is of, please? And this, for the record, my apologies, would be states 163.
That is a picture of the pool table in the gun room that with the 300 or AR-15 300 blackout sitting on the pool table, which I collected out of the gun rack.
All right, and that person right there, who is that?
That is Mark Ball.
Thank you, Christina.
I'm going to show the jury now 173. And tell me what this image is, please.
That is that AR-15 rifle 300 blackout sitting in the gun wall before it was pulled from the gun wall, placed on the table.
All right. Still image 158, can you tell me what that is, please?
That is what I was describing as the side door which enters to the gun room without going through the main part of the house. The stoop and out in front of that is where items were collected.
And what items are you talking about?
The 300 spent shell casings were collected out in front of the stoop.
All right. Going to go now to Exhibit 175, and what is that image?
That is the same side door, just a different angle, same stoop.
All right. 176, tell me what that is, please.
That is the brick landing at the bottom of the stoop, and just in the center, down low, close to the bottom, you can see a 300 spent 300 blackout casing.
What am I pointing out with my finger right now?
That is the spent 300 blackout casing.
All right. Go to exhibit number 177. Tell me what this still image from your body cam reflects.
That is my hand, and I have picked up a spent 300 blackout casing from the side of the stoop.
All right. 179.
Those are the 300 blackout casings which were collected at the in front of the stoop.
All right. And now 180.
That is the left-hand side of the entrance of the gun room, just in the flower bed.
All right. And do we see cases in that image? You can step down if you need to. I know your screen's pretty small. If you need to step down, that's fine.
I can't pick it out on that picture.
All right. I'm going to hand you State's Exhibit 180 and see if you can make it out.
Yes, sir. It will be at the bottom of the picture, about in the center.
All right. Well, let me have you come around, or you can do it. I'm going to put it back up and do it screen for the jury, please.
It would be right here.
All right. Sounds good. You can retake the stand, please. All right. Moving on to 181. Tell the jury what this still image reflects, please.
That is three of the 300 blackout spent casings that was collected at the base of at the front of the stoop.
All right. And then finally, jumping the gun, we have 183. Tell me what that reflects.
That would be to the, I believe, the right-hand side of the stoop, and just at the end of my hand, I'm fixing to pick up a spent 300 blackout casing.
What is my finger pointing to right there?
That is the 300 blackout casing which I'm talking about.
All right, thank you. Right before lunch, there was admitted into evidence states 152 and 151, and you got your readers with you?
I do, yes, sir.
Can you remind us where those items were collected, please?
The ammo was collected from the shelving in the gun room, 300 blackout ammo, on 9/13 of 21, and the 300 blackout the 243 magazine with 300 blackout ammo in it was collected from a black Ford F-150 that was located on the property.
And you got a knife on you?
I do, yes, sir.
You mind opening that exhibit for us? And let's take a look at those items, please.
Do you want me to open the brown bags also?
I do, please.
I love how he just casually pulls out a knife from his pocket. Lol. No one seems to care. Thank you, Silence, for the gift memberships. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Let's go ahead and do mess with that one first, if we could. Can you remove the item from its packaging, please? What you got there?
It's a magazine which fits the AR style rifle that is loaded with 300 blackout ammunition.
All right, and can you see what brand that is on there? On the rounds that you can see?
Appears to be S&B 300 blackout.
S&B 300 blackout.
Yes, sir.
Let me take that item. I'm going to put this up on the screen so the jury. All right, go ahead and open the other one for me, please. Before we move on, we're not pulling all the ammo out. Does this magazine appear to be relatively full?
It's pretty heavy, so it's pretty full.
All right.
Okay.
Go ahead and just put that one back for me, please. And then go on to the next one.
Cut the bottom of the bag.
What you got in there?
This is another magazine that fits the AR style rifle. It's loaded with 300 blackout.
Can you tell the particular brand of that 300 blackout?
It's head stamped S&B.
Thank you, Silence. That's nice.
Let me go put that up on the screen for the jury. All right. Just real quick before you put it back, does that, we're not taking all the bullets out or cartridges out, does that appear to be fairly well loaded?
It's got some weight to it. It feels like it's fairly loaded.
All right, if you can return that to his bag, please. And then put those back in the plastic right corner.
Thank you, Girl Scout. That's very kind of you.
We've been talking about guns for a while. Let's talk about something else for a minute, and then we'll get back to guns. You got it back?
Yes, sir.
All right. Going back to June 8th, 2021, were you present when any efforts were made to collect the cell phone belonging to Maggie Murdaugh?
Yes, sir, I was.
All right. And who all were you present with when that when that happened? And just kind of describe the events as they took place, please.
It was myself, Special Agent McAllister, Captain Ryan Neal, Dylan Hightower. There was one or two more people there, but I don't recall.
Okay. And ultimately, was that phone located?
The
Well,
phone was
golly
located
gee,
a
you're
short
so
distance
welcome.
from the crime scene.
All right. And where was it, just generally?
If you would come out of 41, out of the driveway of the residence, take a right on Moselle Road, quarter mile, half mile. I don't recall the exact distance on the left-hand side of the road, kind of in the grass area.
When y'all found it, what happened then? Who picked it up? Who collected it? What happened to it at that point?
Captain Neal picked it up. Special Agent McAllister held it in her hand while a picture was taken of it, gloved hand. We were given the passcode to the phone. Passcode was entered into the phone just to verify that it would work, it would unlock, and it did work, it did unlock. It was immediately shut, locked back, and then passcode was written on a sticky note. It was packaged and ultimately turned over to crime scene.
Okay. And you were there when all that happened, is that correct?
That is correct, yes, sir.
Aside from the things y'all just described, was it otherwise manipulated or tampered with or changed in any way?
No, sir, it was not.
All right. I'm going to show you what's been previously marked for identification at this time as Exhibit 204, and have you just take a look at that and see if you recognize that item.
Yes, sir, I do.
All right. Tell me what that item is.
This is the phone that was recovered on the side of the road belonging to Miss Maggie Murdaugh.
The one you just described?
Yes, sir, it is.
The one that was secured by Captain Neal
Yes, sir, it is.
and then turned over to crime scene?
Yes, sir, it is.
All right. Put it back for me if you will. Just real quick. All right, at this time, Your Honor, we would move Exhibit 204 into evidence, I believe, without objection.
Did it?
All right. Let me ask you this question. Do you know a guy by the name of John Bedingfield?
Yes, sir, I do.
And is that somebody you knew before this case?
Yes, sir, it is.
And how do you know him, just generally?
John grew up in Barnwell, just like myself. He actually has a son that's the same age as my son. They went to school together, played ball together. I've known John for a number of years.
And what does John do for a living, do you know?
He is a DNR officer.
All right. And does he have a side business?
He does.
And just generally, what does that side business do?
He's got a gun business where he builds, works on firearms.
Okay. And prior to this case ever happening, did you ever have any conversation with John Bedingfield about whether or not he had assembled any guns for Alex Murdaugh?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay. And is that something that you knew prior to this case ever taking place?
Yes, sir, it is.
After this case took place, well, let me ask you this. Did you know what ammunition was used by those guns that were assembled by John Bedingfield for Alex Murdaugh?
Yes, sir.
And what ammunition was used in those guns?
Yes, sir.
Response?
Yes, not all for the truth of the matter asserted this time, but effect on the listener for his actions.
Anything further?
It's still hearsay, and I'm not sure
what his actions are in response to the hearsay. I mean, he's asking questions about what he learned well before these crimes.
Objection overruled.
Tough.
And so what was the ammunition in the guns, from what John Bedingfield told you?
The guns were built and chambered for 300 blackout.
All right. As this case developed, did that prior fact that you knew, that caused you to take any actions?
Yes, sir, it did.
And tell me what actions you took based on that prior knowledge you had.
I contacted John Bedingfield and asked him if he could provide me with paperwork for the weapons that was purchased by Mr. Alex Murdaugh.
All right. And was that after these particular crimes that took place?
That was after, yes, sir.
All right. You remember roughly when that was?
It was within a day or so that I talked to him, yes, sir.
All right. And did he ultimately provide you some paperwork?
Yes, sir, he did.
Was that the only conversation you had with John Bedingfield about the 300 blackouts that he built for Alex Murdaugh?
No, sir, it was not.
Was there a subsequent conversation?
Yes, sir.
Did you call him back or did he call you back?
I called him back and then to require of potential additional 300 blackout that was purchased by and paid for by Miss Maggie Murdaugh.
Okay. So you called him with an inquiry, is that correct?
That is correct.
Tell me what your inquiry was to John Bedingfield after he initially provided you some paperwork.
I'm sorry, sir, I couldn't hear you.
Sorry, turned away.
That's okay.
Tell me what your specific inquiry was to John Bedingfield that second time when there was a subsequent conversation.
The second time that I talked to John was to inquire about whether or not he built a third 300 blackout to replace a gun that Paul had misplaced or had gotten stolen earlier in 2017.
All right. And in response to that inquiry, did John Bedingfield provide you some additional paperwork?
Yes, he did.
All right. I'm going to show you what's been marked as stand by for me real quick.
Okay. Okay, but we kind of already know this, right? I mean, not that John built them, but that he had them. So, what?
All right, I'm going to show you what's been marked at this time for identification only. States 247. Stand by for me, Mr. Wilker. All right, and I'm going to ask you to look at what's been marked for identification only this time as Exhibit 247 and see if you recognize that paperwork.
Yes, sir, I do.
All right, and just, again, without describing the contents, tell the jury what this paperwork is, please.
It's a copy of canceled checks and copy of the sale of firearms.
All right, and this was documentation that was provided to you in response to your inquiries to John Bedingfield?
That is correct.
And who gave this documentation to you?
John Bedingfield.
All right, I'm going to, again, without going into the contents, look at the second page and tell me, is that the document that was provided in response to your second inquiry when you called him back about a third blackout?
Yes, sir, it is.
All right, thank you.
Okay. So they lost one of the guns in 2017. So there should be two other rifles and they only have one. Is that the idea we're going for, I guess? I guess that's what we're trying to do, right? There were 3 total blackout rifles, one of which was lost in 2017, one of which was recovered. Where's the other one? Okay. I guess that's where we're going with that.
to show you two exhibits. I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 162 first, and it's a disc, and see if you recognize that particular exhibit, please.
Yes, sir, I do.
All right, tell me what that exhibit is.
That is a disc from, or excuse me, a video from my body-worn camera of collection of shell casings.
All right, and does it have a date on when that occurred on it?
6/16/2021.
All right, so this is different from what we've already talked about, is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, and then I'm going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 248, and see if you recognize that particular exhibit.
Yes, sir, I do.
All right, and is that additional body cam footage from that search on 6/16/21?
That is correct.
All right, Your Honor, at this time, I would move both Exhibits 248
Thank
and
you,
162
Lucky
into
Team
evidence
Hogue, for the
without
gift memberships. 20 gift memberships. It's very, very kind of you. Thank you very much.
Admit it.
All right, so got a search on 6/16/21. Can you tell the jury a little bit about that search, how it came to pass, what was going on, and then we'll get to the footage as to what occurred.
Okay. During the investigation process, we learned that there was a shooting range and some bodies of water on the property. And when I say on the property, it's across the road from the incident location. Through discussion with the investigative team, it was decided that we needed to go over to that shooting range and also search that body of water for any potential evidence that may be found.
And this shooting range, that was still part of the Murdaugh property at Moselle, is that correct?
That is correct. It would be kind of diagonal to your left from where the kennels are at.
All right. And the information received was that the family used that as a shooting range?
That is correct, yes, sir.
Okay. All right, let me show you quickly. Go ahead and just quickly show you these. Show you what's been marked as exhibits 184, 185, and 186, and see if you recognize those.
Yes, sir, I do.
All right, and tell me what those are generally, please.
One is the picture of the shoot house. The other is the picture of the inside of the shoot house, and then the third picture is a picture of the area next to the waterway where we collected some items.
All right, Your Honor, this time I would move exhibits 184, 185, and 186, state's exhibits and evidence, I believe, without objection.
No objection.
All right, very quickly, let's put this up on the screen. 184, again, tell the jury what that is, please.
That is what I'm describing as a shoot house. It has a bench inside where you would set up to shoot targets out in front.
All right, 185, what does that represent, please?
That is on the inside of the shoot house, the chair, the stand where you would sit, and obviously the rail where you would rest your weapon.
All right, what are these little shiny things on the floor there?
That's brass from firearms that's already been fired.
All right, and is that how the scene looked when you found it?
Yes, sir, it is.
All right, and then finally, 186, what does that represent?
That is two 12-gauge spent shotgun shells that was collected over near the waterway behind where we had set our dive trailer up.
All right. If I could have the inputs changed to the video, please.
I'm glad you're here, Lynn. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you for the 400 people
Time
that are here.
to
Appreciate it.
Play exhibit 162.
Don't forget to retweet if you haven't already done so. I appreciate everyone who's here. You guys make it possible.
For the record, I'm going to fast forward it to about 43 seconds into the video.
Paladin Phil, where they're trying to go with this is that the rounds that were recovered at the shoot house match the rounds used in the murder. That's where they're trying to go with this.
Is that the shooting house as you observed it?
Yes, sir, it is.
I'm now at 1 minute and 19 seconds, and I have it paused. But tell me, what is this thing right here that's kind of up on the counter of that shooting house?
That would be a rest that you would put your rifle in when you're sighting it in or shooting downrange at targets to help stabilize it.
All right, when you're sighting it in, just real quick, explain with the jury what you're trying to do when you sight in a rifle that you would use that rest for.
When you're zeroing your rifle, whether it be 100 yards, 200 yards, you want to hold a rifle as still as possible, obviously. You would have a target downrange at whatever distance you're sighting it in at. You would fire 1, 2, 3 rounds, and then you would adjust your optics and continue till you get it zeroed to where you want it.
And zero means it's shooting where you're aiming.
Yes, sir.
Ultimately, and I'm going to fast forward through a fair amount of this, but ultimately, after seeing those cases on the floor, did you see any 300 blackout that you recognized just looking down were 300 blackout?
Yes, sir, I did.
All right. And did you send Special Agent David Owen to go get some envelopes so you could collect those?
Yes, sir, I did.
And ultimately, did you collect about 17 S&B cases at that location?
Yes, sir, I did.
Hold it.
For the record, I'm at 11 minutes and 3 seconds in the video.
Yeah. So what we're trying to do here is we're trying to recover rounds from the shooting range.
What is it? 300?
And then we're going to try to match those spent casings that were used at the murder. So to say that they went through the same rifle. So it was therefore the rifle that Alex Murdaugh owned. At least at some point.
That AACBLK?
What are you reading out right there?
I'm reading the numbers to identify, the identifiers off the head stamp of the shell casing.
All right. Moving now to 1207.
S&B 300. AACBLK.
Same ammunition?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm going to move now.
Near right leg of the shooting table. Hang on. I'm sorry. That's a big 300 blackout AACBLK.
Same thing?
Yes, sir, it is.
Also near the right leg of the shooting table. Above the chair. Okay. S&K 300. 300 blackout. SNK. I'm sorry. SNG. Yeah, same head strap. SND is what you were saying. Well, wasn't any different. Hang on. I'm sorry, it is SND. AAC, BLK.
Same thing?
Yes, sir, it is.
Moving to 1619.
SND, 300 blackout. AAC, BLK.
Same thing?
Yes, sir, it is.
Moving to 1721.
In front into the
Check that. 1717.
BLK, 300 blackout.
A little too far. Let's back up to 1712.
SND, 300. AAC, BLK, 300 blackout.
Same thing?
Yes, sir, it is.
Moving now to 18:00, about 18 minutes even.
300 blackout will be the AAC. Okay. S&D. 300 blackout will be the AAC BLK.
Same thing?
Yes, sir, it is.
Between the table leg and the wall of the shootout.
Now we're at 1847.
It's going to be S&D. 300 blackouts will be 300 AAC BLK.
Same thing?
Yes, sir.
So, okay.
Moving now to 2221.
Same head.
Excuse me, 2216.
Stand S&D. 300 AAC BLK.
Same thing?
Yes, sir, it is.
BLK.
2309.
Will be S&D. 300 blackout. Just that AAC BLK. 300.
Same thing?
Yes, sir, it is.
Moving up to the right front
Now we're at 2356.
corner. Up the shootout. That'll be S&D. 300 blackout. Exactly 300 AAC BLK.
Same thing?
Yes, sir, it is.
Moving to 2452.
S&D, 300 blackout. AAC, BLK.
Same thing?
Yes, sir.
They appear to be watching body camera of him going to the shooting range across from their house, which is still on the property.
You'll have to go get some more envelopes
And
at this point.
I think that's what we just went to do.
and picking up
I'm gonna move it
spent
forward.
cartridges at the shooting range seems to be what they're doing.
All right, we're at now at 2802.
S&D, 300 blackout. 300, AAC, BLK.
Same thing?
Same thing, sir.
What?
We're now at 2908.
That's right. This is
This is a private range.
S&D,
It's on their property. It's a private
300
range.
blackout. AAC, BLK.
Same thing?
Same thing, sir.
Now we're at 3027.
S&B, 300 blackout, AAC, BLK.
It's the same thing, sir.
Now we're at 3132.
More commentary. Hard to know when to talk and when not because you don't want to talk over something. You don't know when someone's going to say something.
300 blackout,
Was the Nazi scale ever addressed? No.
AAC, BLK.
Same thing?
Yes, sir, it is.
S&B, all right, that full here.
Now we're at 3216.
S&B, all right,
Please talk over this.
blackout, 300, AAC.
Okay.
Same thing?
Yes, sir, it is.
Almost
So
done.
yeah, so basically, yeah, so what it seems like they're doing here. So this is on the property of the house. It's across the street, but it's on their
Now we're
property.
at 3332.
It was their personal shooting range. And what they seem to be doing, what they're setting up for, is that they went to the shooting range and they picked up a whole bunch of this ammo. And right now he's saying what he's saying, right? He's saying
Same thing?
Yes, sir, it is.
in real time on the video that he's picking up these cartridges. These cartridges are the same that were used, or the same at least manufacturer, or at least the same caliber, at least, or that same caliber that were used in the shooting. And so what they seem to where they seem to want to go with this is they seem to be what they want to go is they want to say they can tell from the ejection marking that these rounds on the shooting range across the street from their house
Yes, sir, it is.
are the same that were used in the murder, that they're the same gun.
You participated in multiple
Marking.
searches at various locations on the Murdaugh property at Moselle Road, is that correct?
Yes, sir, I did.
Did you
Therefore,
repeatedly find S&B 300 blackout ammunition, both fired and unfired, at various locations
Alex
throughout
Murdaugh.
that property?
Yes,
it's
sir, I
Alex
did.
Murdaugh's gun, at least.
All right, we'll do one more very quick one, and this will be
In the response to the
Exhibit
question, would the
248.
spent brass have unique characteristics? That appears to be what they're going to try to establish. So, based on the preliminaries, that appears to be where the state's going. They
I'm
appear to
gonna fast
believe
forward
that the spent brass is unique enough to be able to match to a specific rifle.
to
You may not have the
102,
rifle.
and I've got it paused.
You know it
Tell us
came from the
generally
same
where
rifle.
we are and what we're seeing here again, please.
That appears to be what they're trying to do.
This location is going to be between where the shoot house was located and the body of water that was there. It's where we had our dive trailer set up and table set up with a shade so that we could actually get out of the weather if we needed to.
And are you collecting any items here?
Yes, sir, I am.
And what are you collecting?
Spent 12 gauge shotgun shells.
All right, I'm gonna let that play for a second.
Yeah, I'm with you that it's a
For the
little
record, we're at
believe it would be
24
that unique,
seconds in.
but we haven't gotten to that expert yet. So,
Hold up.
All right, let's see.
prosecution has not yet established motive. No. Which, just as a reminder, is not an element of the crime. The prosecution, strictly speaking, never has to establish motive. It's a nice to have. It's not legally required.
All
right, for the record, I'm stopping at 1 minute and 14 seconds. I'm going to show you again what's been marked as State's Exhibit 21. And are there, in fact, shotgun shells present in there?
There is.
All right. And where were those collected from, those red shotgun shells?
It's depicted on the video on the Murdaugh property right near the waterway
All right.
at the shooting range.
Based on based on the preliminary testimony from that examiner, he said that you could have two mass manufactured firearms that were produced in the same lot by the same machines back to back, and you could still tell ejected casings uniquely one
You
from
told
another.
this jury that the primary focus that you had here, because of your general knowledge of
So-
firearms, was to gather that type of evidence. Is that correct?
That
That
seems
is
to be what
correct,
he
yes,
said.
sir.
But you also participated in interviews in this case as well, didn't you?
Yes, sir, I did.
You talked about interviewing Rogan Gibson. You talked about interviewing John Bedingfield, right?
That is correct, yes, sir.
Did you interview the defendant or participate in an interview with the defendant?
Yes, sir, I did.
You remember what day that was that you participated in an interview with the defendant?
I don't remember. Yes, sir, I do.
All right. And what is that disc?
This is a recorded interview which was conducted with Alex Murdaugh on 6/10 of 2021.
Are your initials
What?
on this disc?
They are.
But as to whether or not that's really possible, I don't know. In my many travels in the legal system, I've never been confronted with that kind of testimony before. I've certainly heard testimony dealing with bullets going down a bore, but I've never heard about testimony with cartridges coming out of a semi-automatic to be able to uniquely match. So I'm going to learn something technically that I don't know, or is outside my technical knowledge. So it should be interesting.
While you're setting that up, might have moved a gun case. Defendant can't see the jury.
Thank you for the super chat. So, a gun that was fired on his own personal gun range. So, what the state wants to be able to do is what the state appears to want to be able to do is, and I don't know whether or not they're going to try this for both the rifle and the shotgun. I don't know, but at least for the rifle, and possibly also for the shotgun, I'm not sure. But what they appear to want to do is they want to use the spent rounds that were found at his own personal shooting range and say that those rounds came from the same gun that was used to commit the murders, based on tool markings, for example, or ejector markings and primer markings or whatever. They want to say, at least as to the rifle and possibly as to the shotgun, that they can tell that those rounds came from the same gun, even if they don't have the gun. Which, okay. I mean, having the gun would certainly be nice, but that they came from the same gun. And because it's his own personal range, it's a gun that Alex Murdaugh had and owned, would be the idea at least. And therefore, he's the murderer. So that seems to be the direction they want to head.
Quick bit of housekeeping. You had talked earlier about your inquiries to John Bedingfield about the 300 blackouts. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes, sir.
And I want to show you what's been marked for ID only 245 at this time and see if you recognize that document. You can pull it out of the sleeve.
I've not watched the documentary
Yes,
or
sir, I do.
podcast because I'm trying to learn as much as I can from the case proper so I can assess things properly. Because I don't know what's going to be admitted at trial, so I try to keep my knowledge base
That you earlier described to the jury.
to what's being heard in case. And the only reason I know all the things I just said is from the preliminary hearing that we heard. It's like, well, this seems to be the direction they want to go. So I'm able to draw some logical conclusions based on the testimony, but try to keep it
The
try to keep
interview
it to the
of the
court case.
defendant on June 10th, 2021, where did that take place?
It was in Senior Special Agent David Owens' patrol vehicle in the yard of Mr. John Marvin Murdaugh's hunting lodge.
Your Honor, this time we're going to play Exhibit 243, the second interview of Alex Murdaugh.
Oh, CC is off. That's true. I forgot to put it on, I think, for the afternoon session. Thank you for reminding me. No, I thought.
Can I take this call really
Yes,
quick?
sir, go
This
right
is
ahead.
my sister-in-law,
Yes, go ahead.
and she's trying to. Hey, Mary. Okay, Lynn, I'm meeting with Mary, when I'm meeting with law enforcement, so I'll call you in just a minute.
Don't have a card.
That's fine.
Did Chelsea call you? Okay. Can you let Chelsea know and then make her run Lynn down? Okay, well, tell her to go get Christy to find Lynn. Get any one of the secretaries to find her. All right. Thank you. Sorry to put that on you. Bye.
That's all right. One thing I want to do before we start is I'd like to get a cell phone exam so we can just corroborate everything. Get a consent, and I got a guy here that's going to do it.
Are you going to download it now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great.
So I'll get to keep my phone?
Yes, sir.
Good.
Who was the guy that was there to download Alex's phone? Do you remember?
Dylan Hightower with 14th Circuit Solicitor's Office.
He works with the 14th Circuit Solicitor's Office.
That is correct.
At that point in time, that was the prosecutor's office in charge of the case.
That is correct.
It was not until August that the case got sent to the Attorney General's office.
That is correct.
How much attorney-client privilege stuff is on there?
A lot.
Okay. We do have a taint attorney that's going to examine it before we ever do.
What is a tank attorney?
A taint attorney, they look at somebody who's not affiliated with the case that makes sure that there's, Jim, do you know? Can you explain it better?
Sure, and I mean, it's a privileged attorney that doesn't, if there is attorney-client privilege information, it's redacted or extracted by the taint attorney.
How do they know who's the client?
I know.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Whatever
yeah,
it is.
yeah.
You know what?
But
If y'all get some
but whoever
attorney-client stuff.
that is, would go through me and then
So,
we'd work through it.
signature.
Just write your name here.
So, Alec, I've had situations where they
It's not a
say,
big deal.
give me a list of all his clients or something like that, but
I'll fill out the rest.
I think the big thing, Joe, is, when you download that phone, I don't know if emails come with it or not, because that's probably where all this attorney-client privilege stuff.
And we can actually isolate the emails.
Yeah, that's probably.
The attorney in me is freaking out about
No,
the
I
concept
text a lot of
of
clients.
sharing my phone with law enforcement
I'm not a big emailer.
Is that at 11 or 12?
because of the amount of
I do not
information
know.
that's on a cell phone.
I'll tell you that case story.
So yeah,
Back, you should have a number.
I'm not sure I'd recommend this course of action, but this is where we're going.
And what was your date of birth again, Mr. Murdaugh?
2768.
The fact that he doesn't know what a taint lawyer is or a taint team is concerning, but okay.
And last word of the social.
Get all that.
7483. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Is this passcode 7483? Well, that's nice to know.
Don't.
Probably have to open it up.
Oh, well, this guy.
Jim, you want to witness that for me, please?
And if you got a passcode or
My passcode is
write it on there.
start at the bottom 9, go up 9669.
9669.
Yes, sir.
right, let me run this till. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Where are
Give
you
me
from,
give me
sir?
unfettered access to your
From
phone, and I'll
Baltimore.
find something
Oh, yeah?
you're guilty
Yes,
of. I'm sure.
I got some cousins in Baltimore.
Give me your phone and a copy of the criminal code. I'll make
Mixing oil?
something work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was mine.
You kin to Dickie Mixon?
I don't know, you know, that, Mixon oil, my Uncle Ray Mixon, and his son Teddy, and Bobby, and a bunch of them. Then,
You know,
Freddie Mixon, he was,
Oh, I knew Freddie Mixon very well.
and his wife Ella, and Jill.
Mr. Freddie goes to Elko Church.
Yeah, not anymore, he did.
I mean, he went.
Well, he did.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I was at his funeral. He had a tiger paw casket at his funeral. He's a big Clemson guy.
you know Big John Bedingfield, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
I know John.
That's my cousin.
Okay.
Great.
Right there.
John Bedingfield, the DNR officer, who is also the one that built the AR-style rifles, 300 blackout for him.
In Sweet Caroline.
John's son and my son.
Bum,
are the same
bum,
age. They were in
bum.
school together.
So, did you grow up in Baltimore?
Yes, sir.
All right, sir. So he's got it, and he's taking care of that.
But I get it back.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, sir. So when we spoke the other night, I got kind of a basic overview,
Yes, sir.
and it was pretty traumatic.
That's okay.
yeah,
I know
so,
you
yeah.
need to ask me. You ask me what you need to.
So I want you to, let's start Monday morning and take me through your day.
Monday morning, you know, did I do Monday morning? My wife and my older son had gone to the baseball games that weekend. You know, I really can't remember what I did Monday. I know I went to work, but you know, I think I was dragging a little bit from the weekend, and but I went to work. I usually mess around on my farm, and then I go to work. I was at work.
His cousin apparently built the gun, yes.
You know,
His cousin, the DNR officer, apparently built
yes,
the gun.
sir. Yes, sir. I have my
So,
office in Hampton.
Sure. Why not?
You know, I mean, I was just at my office doing.
Legal work.
Yes, sir. I'm sure I can go back and probably recreate some specifics if you need me to, but I can't like sit here and recall on the top of my head exactly what I was working on. I know one thing I was working on was we had some big motions coming up in a Dominion Energy case. I was getting ready for those, and I was getting ready for some motions. I'm a defendant in a civil case involving my son. I told you about the boat wreck.
Yes, sir.
And there were some motions coming up in that on Thursday, and I was mostly just getting ready for those things. And then
This is in response to a question as to what he was doing the day of the murders.
That is correct, yes, sir.
And he said he was working on some motions in the Dominion Energy case, and then also where he's personally a defendant in the boat case. Is that correct?
That is correct,
That's
yes,
what he
sir.
said he was doing the day of the murders. Is that right?
That is correct, yes, sir.
Thank you.
other junk.
What time did you leave the house to go to the office?
I'm not sure.
Who all was at the house when you left?
To go to my office
Yes.
that morning,
Or when you got up, who was at the house?
I'm sure my wife was. And I can't remember if Blanca had made it out there yet or not.
And who was Blanca?
Blanca is our housekeeper.
Okay. Okay.
And she
It was
comes-
Dominion Energy. The
she
guy was
doesn't have
framed
set
by
hours,
Dominion
but she
Energy.
comes most days.
That's pretty hardcore, man. It's pretty
She'll be able to
hardcore. You
tell
think
you
Dominion
about
Energy is that
whether or not
hardcore?
She left or not. I
Oof.
just can't remember.
And so you went to the office. You did, some motions. What time did you leave the office?
Real quick, what was the name of the housekeeper?
Blanca?
Yeah, when she left or not.
Okay.
I can't remember.
And so you went to the office. You did, some motions. What time did you leave the office?
I left a little bit earlier than normal because my son Paul was coming home.
Okay.
Because he had not been with us during the weekend, and he was coming home. We were going to we were going to replant some sunflowers the next day.
Okay.
And so he was.
Oh my God, the
out
sunflowers are back.
and getting everything ready. So he got home a little early. I left a little early, so he and I could knock around, and we knocked around for, just doing things we like to do out there.
Okay.
We're riding around looking at.
Was one of the things murder?
Food plots, looking for hogs. A little bit of target shooting. Just
What was the
bullshit.
target? Dun, dun, dun.
You said Paul wasn't with you over the weekend. Where does he live with you at the house on Moselle?
Well, I mean, that's his home, but
Yeah.
he has an apartment in Columbia.
Okay.
And he goes to Charleston a lot of weekends with his buddies.
Okay.
And he had been in Charleston for the weekend.
Okay.
And then Paul works for my brother John. That's out here. You met John.
Yes, sir.
So Paul works for him. So Paul decided to go to. He went to spend the night.
We're doing a little
with
light murder together. It's
my
one of our
brother, his
favorite
Uncle
things.
John.
The
They
father's
were very,
bonding
very
activity.
close.
Okay.
I mean, as bonding activity goes, murder's got to be up there.
Sunday
So,
night. And then he worked for John Marvin.
that's just how good a
and he
father
came
is and how
home
important his
Monday
relationship is to his
afternoon.
son.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just real quick, Alex Murdaugh told you that he left work a little earlier than normal, is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's what he said.
And one of the things he told you is they were riding around looking for hogs, is that right?
Looking for hogs, yes, sir.
Do people often use 300 blackout to shoot hogs?
They do.
About roughly what time in the afternoon?
I would think it'd be somewhere in the 5 o'clock range. A little bit. It was broad daylight when we were. It wasn't dusk, dark, or late.
Okay.
And we rode. We just rode around. We rode around our dove field, looking at how the corn was doing. He and I had planted corn in the dove field, and he planted the corn in the duck pond, and he was, showing me how much better his corn was doing than mine was. And we rode around the duck pond. I mean, we just, we rode the property.
Yes, sir.
We rode the property. Then, we rode around so much. We just rode.
Okay.
Probably. It was a good little while. It was more than 20 minutes or 30 minutes.
Okay.
And, was it 2 hours? I don't know. I'd say it was more than an hour probably.
Really wasn't keeping track of time.
And it wasn't, it wasn't getting dark. Mama wasn't home yet. She had gone to a doctor's appointment.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, target practice, what y'all shooting?
Just a little bottle. You mean what gun?
Yeah.
A 22
Okay.
Magnum.
Rat shot.
I think. No, it wasn't rat shot. I think he shot 2 times and I shot 1 time.
Okay.
He told you that they shot just a couple of times, the target shooting at a bottle 22 Magnum, is that correct?
That is correct.
And is 22 Magnum, is that a very small round, or is that a much larger rifle round like 300 Blackout?
That is a small round.
Small baby round.
22 is about as small as it comes.
They make them smaller, but it is small.
So after y'all got finished riding around, try to take me through the rest of the evening.
What's rat shot? It's very, very small
At some
shotgun
point,
shot.
we were
It's
all
also
back at
called
the house
dust.
together.
Or actually,
Maggie had gotten
you can
home,
also use like rat
and,
shot for
we sat down, we ate supper.
just generally small
We
shot.
usually eat supper together.
But if you're using it as like a technical designation, then you probably mean
One
like
thing
dust.
I remember, I don't know how much detail
It's
y'all want. So
shot
if I
that's
start talking
it's
about
shot
something
that's
that
smaller
you
than
don't
number
need,
8
just
shot.
tell me and I'll move to something else.
Basically.
The more detailed, the better, sir.
So Paul has been having high blood pressure, and his mama was worried sick about it. So we were actually, this was a direct thing, getting him. He doesn't like to go to doctors, making him go get his blood pressure checked. His
And as
feet
Crow
had swollen
Minion
up
points
recently.
out, yeah, this
So,
is also possible in
that
a
was There was a
in a
big,
pistol
huge
or
deal.
rifle round
You
that
know,
you
we
fill
hung around the house
you
for a
fill
little
the
while.
bullet with
I know
shots,
that Maggie went to the kennels.
and that would be another
I
situation
don't
where you'd
know
wind
exactly
up with
where
that
Paul went, but he
situation.
left the house too.
Okay. How did Maggie get down to the kennels?
I don't know exactly, but on normal occasions she would drive a buggy.
They make
drive a
rat shot at
four-wheeler,
50 cal.
Or very
Did they
common
really?
for her to walk.
Okay. How about
Did they
Paul?
really make rat shot at 50
Paul
cal?
wasn't much of a walker, but
If that's
he
true,
would
that's
use all of
hilarious.
the others.
Why would you do that?
But I mean, it could be anyway. You know,
Why would you do that?
I don't know exactly. I wish I could help you with that.
So they left and went down to the kennels.
Well, Maggie went to go to the kennels,
Okay. Paul left.
and I'm assuming, Paul left
Okay.
because of,
Gotcha.
what happened. I mean, I'm assuming Paul
Yeah.
went to the kennels.
Okay. And what did you do once Maggie and Paul left?
I stayed in the house.
What did he tell you he did after Maggie and Paul went to the kennels?
He stayed in the house.
I mean, I'm assuming Paul
Yeah.
went to the kennels.
Okay. And what did you do once Maggie and Paul left?
I stayed in the house,
Okay.
and I was watching TV, looking at my phone, and I actually fell asleep on the couch.
Okay. And what time did you?
I
What
don't
time
know
did you wake up?
exactly what time I woke up, but when y'all get my phone, I think one of the first things I did when I got up was call Maggie because I was going to my mom's. And I know I texted her because I checked my phone. And what time did we say the text was, Jim? Like 9:06?
I didn't see it.
Yeah, I got it written down from the other
I
night.
showed you the other night,
yes,
didn't I?
Yes, sir. I got this.
So, I texted her. So I called her just before that. And, I mean, she didn't answer at that point. And I left to go to my mom's.
Okay.
Y'all will just have to look. I'm not sure if I called Paul or
Well,
not.
and that's why we're getting the phone so we can nail down the times and
Right.
and everything.
So I left, I drove. I'm going to tell y'all this, even though I think it's kind of crazy. I was certain that
Here's my number,
heard
call me
them
maybe.
pull up. I mean, I was positive that I heard, and people don't just come out there. We don't get like passed through. I was certain that I heard them pull up, but they didn't.
Okay.
The defendant told you that he thought he heard somebody pull up, but they didn't?
Yes, sir.
And that was before, according to him, he left the house. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Well, if you heard something pull up, what did it sound like?
I can't tell you what it sounded like. I just know that I thought that my wife had pulled up, or that Paul had pulled up.
Would it have been the buggy that she normally drives, or would it be a car?
No. I had the impression that a car pulled up.
Okay.
And
And had you woken up by that time, but hadn't left for your mom's?
yep.
Okay.
But it wasn't much time in between there because I left pretty damn close. It wasn't much time between me waking up and me leaving the house.
Okay.
And when I went outside, there's a wild cat that lives around that house.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was the cat that ran from my car, but I never had the impression it was a person, but there was something.
Okay.
Was someone Stacy was chastising me for talking
He wasn't sure if it was a person.
in chat?
Yes, sir. That's what he says.
But I
Damn, you
don't
really
think-
can't please anybody, man. Shit.
I'm just throwing that
Yeah,
out
no,
there
I got
because
you.
it was in my mind.
Christ.
No, that's fine.
All right.
That's totally fine.
I left. I drove to my mom's. I checked on
And
my
she
mom.
lives right out here, correct?
She lives at Alameda. Checked on my mom. Talked with Shelly for a few minutes.
Shelley is
The caregiver.
okay.
And I know that I called some people on the way there. I know I returned a call from my brother John. I I know that I called Chris Wilson. I know that I talked to
Be right back.
Buster. So I made a few phone calls.
Okay.
And
Where was Buster?
Buster was in Rock Hill.
Okay. Is that where he lives, or?
No, he lives in Columbia, but he just started a new job. He's going back to law school in January.
Okay.
So he's working a little part-time job with Wild Wings
Okay.
through January.
Gotcha.
You know, just kind of killing time. And he was in, his girlfriend lives in Rock Hill. She's studying for the bar exam, so he had to be in Charlotte, so he was staying with her in Rock Hill, her and her mom.
Okay.
Can I open the store?
Yes, sir. So,
All right, so where are we? All right, so then I
you
left
your
my mom's.
and making phone calls.
I left my mom's, and I went back home. I got to the house. I went inside. Nobody was there. I got in the car. I went back to the kennels, and, you know.
And when you went back to the kennels, besides Maggie and Paul, did you see anybody, any cars?
I didn't see
Take
anything
your
right
time.
then, no, sir.
Take your time.
You know, I saw Maggie and I saw Paul laying down. I knew, you know, I didn't know, you know, I knew it was bad. I went over there and, you know, I saw it.
Yeah.
And, you know, I called 911.
Okay. And what made you decide to go back to the house and get a gun?
I just think the whole scene had me freaked out.
Okay. Did you take your car back up there, or did you run up there?
No, I drove.
Okay.
How did Alex Murdaugh say he went back to the house after finding Maggie and Paul to supposedly go get a gun?
He drove.
And of course, the shotgun that we have is the one you brought back.
They were asking me earlier. I'm not sure which one it was.
Jim, it was a 12 gauge. And yeah, Ronnie had the question if it was 12 or 20. It was a 12 gauge.
And it was that camo, don't it?
Yes, sir. I think it was the 12 camo Benelli.
I think so. But that's about all you got, Benelli out there, right?
And we talked about this a little bit the other night too. I know Paul had been getting some threats and getting some being assaulted from, you know, the boat. Who stands out in your mind, besides the boat incident? Who stands out in your mind?
I'm still here.
That would want to come after Paul and or Maggie?
I mean, sir, I can't think of anybody who would want to go to that extreme. You know, I mean, he got a bunch of threats, it's mostly from, you know, I mean, I have no idea.
How would he receive most of those threats?
What do you mean?
There's a frost warning out there, by the way, for those of us in Texas. Be safe out there, guys.
No, it was mostly like in-person confrontations, are the ones that I learned about. Now, I suspect his friends can probably tell you about more, because I doubt Paul told me about all of them.
Okay.
But I knew about a lot of them. You know, there were a lot of times where people would come up to him and he'd be like, they'd say something about, you know, you gonna tell me who was driving that boat, or you little piece of shit, were you driving that boat? You know, stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who did he go to Charleston with in the boat that weekend?
I don't know exactly. I know that, I mean, I know who his buddies are, but specifically who was on the boat with him, I'm not sure.
Okay.
You know, but I can give you a list of names of who it probably was.
So, Joe, I don't know if you want me to weigh in here. You maybe put your pins down, but a good buddy of mine's son went fishing with me yesterday out in the ocean. and he has a best friend, and his dad's name is Lee Chapman. But
Yeah.
the kid said, Lee's
It's cold
son
up
said
here today.
Paul slept on his couch in
Cold up there
Charleston
every day.
2 nights before he was murdered. So it's Lee Chapman's son. I can give his name. You probably know Lee's son. I don't know, but he goes to the Citadel. But that's where Paul was.
Okay.
And I learned that yesterday out on the fishing trip, which is by happenstance.
Cool. I mean, yes, sir. If you could get me Lee Chapman's son's contact
To
information.
the 500 of you
There was
currently
a
watching,
bunch
by
of
the way,
Chapman
thank you very
brothers that
much.
Paul was
I
very
really
close
appreciate
with.
every one of you is
Closest
here.
one being
Just a friendly
Wills
reminder, if you
Chapman
haven't already
and
retweeted
Frank
the
Chapman.
link,
Will's Chapman
if you could
is his
just
name.
kindly
I'll get you
hit the
number.
link that's in the
Frank
pinned
is
comment and
John
retweet
Chapman's
it,
son,
that would be
and Wills
great.
is Lee Chapman's
It
son.
helps bring attention to the
That's where
channel.
you want.
I really
And
do
those
think it helps
boys
a lot.
are, they're just really good
Or I wouldn't keep telling you to
boys
do it.
and friends of Paul's.
And one of them is Wills with an S, right?
That's right.
And Wills goes to the Citadel. That's you understand?
Help,
No,
I
he's
am
graduated
falling
from
asleep.
Oh, graduate.
I feel you a little bit, Jennifer. This conversation is
Frank
going on a while. I'm
Wilson,
not
I
sure
think
why
he
we're
had
admitting
some
everything unless the defense wanted everything,
Academic troubles.
which okay. But
But I mean,
The
I'm
value
telling
of
you
this
now, I can
conversation
promise
is-
you
is
that,
minimal.
those boys love Paul.
Well,
It's absolutely.
Well, and I
None
just
of
want
them.
to talk to them about their weekend and
Sure.
yeah.
I can tell you this: in riding around with Paul, he was his normal bright.
if you don't tweet, no problem. Share to your social media of choice. There's a little share
He was
button
really great.
below the video. You
So,
can hit the share
me
button and
Dad
share to your
myself,
social
what
media
was
of
the
choice.
biggest
So,
issue you had
and if you don't have
with
social media,
Paul?
text a friend or call
when
someone.
you had to call him down and scold him or correct him?
Shout
What was
my
the
name
biggest
from the
issue
streets.
you had with Paul?
These are many other ways you can.
I mean, irresponsibility. He was ADHD. He was bad about jumping from, and he had so many wonderful qualities now, but he was bad about jumping from, he'd start this, maybe not quite finish it, do something else. And, you'll find out from his friends, he had clothes strung out all over the state. He did that with clothes. He did that with guns. He did that with my boats.
Lost.
He lost what?
He would misplace stuff or just,
Okay.
leave stuff behind, right?
Yes, everywhere. I mean, he would go off for the weekend. Sometimes he wouldn't pack clothes because he's got clothes in somebody's house. I mean, Paul was one, he wouldn't understand how you go out, you and a girl go out on a date. He liked the crowd.
Who was his girlfriend?
He didn't have a girlfriend right now.
Okay.
Alex, last time I talked to him was like 2 weeks ago, although we texted. He was going to Greenville for the weekend. I mean, he had friends up there, girlfriend up there.
No, we had a family thing in Greenville, and he came up. Paul didn't play golf. He came up on Friday.
I mean, if he was dating a girl in
and stayed
Greenville, that'd be like a
Saturday,
scandal.
And then he left to go to
Scandal.
Charleston, and we were stayed another day to play golf.
What do you mean? She's from Greenville.
My niece on my wife's side is having a baby, and we went up for that.
And you said on Monday Maggie had a doctor's appointment.
Greenville's a beautiful
In
place, by
Charleston.
the way.
I know
love
we talked
Greenville.
about this on Monday. Do you call the doctor?
I could totally see
she went
myself
to,
living
or
in Greenville
what
someday.
the reason was?
It's a great place.
Maggie had a couple little things going on, and I personally think she was going to see Dr. Gordine, but I'm not positive.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's who it was. I can find out
Yeah.
specifically though. Her mom will know.
Okay. And you said she and Buster were at the ball games all weekend?
Yes.
Was that
Sarah,
With me.
with
Sarah,
you?
you're killing me.
What ball games?
You're killing me,
Carolina
Smalls.
Regional.
You're killing me.
They didn't make it past those, did they?
No.
Okay. Paul was in Charleston, so he didn't hang out with y'all that weekend.
No, sir.
And what time did Maggie get back home Monday night?
It was after Paul and I had gone. She was not there when Paul and I left to go mess around.
Okay.
So, you know, it was sometime after that. So there was a point when, you know, she got back, we got back.
When y'all got back from riding around and messing around on the farm, was she home or?
Yes.
Okay.
The defendant told you that Maggie was home when they got back from riding around the property. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes, sir.
So, and I don't believe she'd been home too long when.
I'm falling asleep too. Maybe this is why the defense wanted the whole thing play, was to break up the momentum. Because like I know where we're going, or at least I think I do, based on the preliminary hearing. I think I know where we're going, but we're not getting there in a hurry now, are we? So maybe that's what. Maybe the defense wanted the whole thing played
Because Maggie cooks.
To
you know, when the boys
slow everything down.
Or she tries to really for me.
Break up the testimony.
She wasn't going to be there that day, so she had Blanca cook a meal.
Because I'm like, I'm ready to move on to other things now, and I'm being kept here, and it's you know, it's like, but I'm ready to move on to other things now.
As good as it could possibly be. I mean, you know, we had our issues, but wonderful.
Thank you, Friday I'm in Love, for gifting 20 uncivilian memberships.
And I'm just trying to understand the family dynamic.
I understand you got to do what you got to do. I promise.
What was y'all's biggest arguments? What your biggest the things that y'all would argue about the most? What would they be over?
I mean, we really didn't argue, but the basic, I'd say the only thing that caused any friction between us is she was always wanting us to go, and I love her in-laws. I mean, they're wonderful people. I love them to death. She was always wanting to go there, stay there a little longer than me and the boys wanted to stay. That was really, and it really, you know, she'd get ticked off.
Yeah.
You mean her family? You said her in-laws. You mean her family?
I mean her family. I mean, we really didn't argue about much. We didn't have much to argue about. I mean, I'm sure there was an occasional thing that came up that we argued about, but I can't tell you what it is. I can't think of it.
I'm ready to move on to other things now.
Yeah.
This interview doesn't really interest me.
Take your time. Good. Tissue.
I'm sorry.
You good.
I mean, she was a wonderful girl and a wonderful wife. And she was a great mother. She, you know, she didn't work. And she always said it was her job. Since she was privileged enough not to work, she was going to make sure she took care of me and the boys. And I mean, she did everything. She did absolutely everything. I'm sorry.
No, you have every right to do that.
I'm good. You go ahead.
That afternoon, or during the time you and Paul were right.
Yes, sir.
Did y'all go up to around the kennels or anything? Did y'all do anything up toward the kennels?
I'm sure we did. You know, that's our main shop.
That's a pretty quick.
Right there. But
that's
you know,
pretty quick
we're
onset and pretty quick
for
offset.
Long times tinkering,
I'll take
and
note.
I will say that particular day we
Put that into my
did not
Spidey brain. That's pretty quick and pretty quick on, which is more understandable. Pretty quick off though, less understandable. It's like, okay, you've somehow been triggered
When y'all rode around the farm,
and suddenly into remembering your dead wife and stuff because of the conversation I buy.
We were actually in two
But like
trucks. We rode in
the
one
tail
truck, and then we rode
is
in
so sharp off.
another truck
It's a
some.
little
One was the black one,
a
and
little
one
suspicious.
Was white one that was out there.
You know, it's like to go from off to on. Yeah, but to go from on to completely off, I don't know, man. Seems a little odd.
Mr. Alex,
Yes, sir.
you know, the other day when we were there, we came in and we were talking with John a little bit.
Sure.
And you obviously got a lot of, I say a lot, you said 20 or 25 weapons.
Yes, sir.
And you know kind of what you got as far as any kind of, what kind of weapons you may have?
I'm pretty much, yes, sir.
I know you might not remember them all, but can you kind of run down what you, for us, kind of what you had, what you got, you know, right there?
That I own or that's in there now?
That you own.
All right. That I
That's
own.
in there, you know, or wherever they're at.
And, you know, I mean, Paul has guns scattered all over the
I
place,
suppose that's
so,
the value of this
you know,
conversation
some of our
now.
guns aren't there.
I suppose the entire value of
So
that
you wanna know
this
all of them, or
conversation
you
for the
wanna know
prosecution is
what I
now
think is in my house.
in that like moment,
Or
and to
what
show the overall
was in my
context there
house
too.
On Monday.
Yeah, what was in your house? Let's start with what was in your house on Monday.
Okay, whatever was in my house on Monday is exactly what was there minus one shotgun that y'all got.
Okay.
No guns have been moved for, you know, there hadn't been any guns moved in and out of there other than when Paul was home. You know, when Paul came home, he would ride around and shoot hogs a lot.
What would he shoot hogs with?
You know, I mean, primarily he would shoot them with Buster's gun. Because
Okay.
Paul had a 300 blackout.
Okay.
And it got, you know, he says it got stolen.
He's a lawyer, so he's good at compartmentalizing.
You know, and it's been gone for some time.
What did he say Paul liked to do?
To this repeating what the tape says. The jury can hear the tape, and just stopping and repeating exactly what Mr. Murdaugh says on the tape.
This witness was actually present, and while there is a recording, he's also fair to relate to the jury what he heard being present for that very conversation.
I overruled the objection.
Thank you.
But anyway,
And let me ask the question again. What did Mr. Murdaugh tell you that Paul liked to do?
Ride around and shoot hogs.
And what did Mr. Murdaugh tell you that the weapon was he used to do that?
He used his brother's 300 blackout.
so he would use his brother's blackout a lot of times.
So Buster also had a 300.
I gave them both one.
Okay. When was that?
Uh,
About.
years ago.
Okay. More than a year ago.
More than a year ago.
Okay.
All right, so, but he would do anything. Paul had this, you know, like a little light that I used that night. Paul would take that thing up to, you know, by 308, and I mean, he was always rigging something. You know, so. Sometimes shotguns, when he would go try to kill the hogs, because, you know, the piglets would be grouped up, but normally he would have a rifle when he went to shoot the pigs.
Yeah.
So, all right, so going back to the guns, y'all want me to tell y'all what was in there? Or don't y'all, I mean, have an inventory?
I videoed that the thing. I didn't write down everything that you had. I just took a random, just like a recording of what was on the gun rack or on the gun wall in the gun room that day.
And there are some more guns that aren't in that gun room, you know. I don't know how many, but,
Okay.
you know, like I do know there's a shotgun in my bedroom.
And I think Miss Katie, Agent Katie, walked with John and saw that one.
Okay. And I imagine there's probably some in some
And a little
other room. I know that,
nonverbal communication here between the witness and the prosecutor.
I
Not
think it
quite
was
sure
the
exactly
we
what we're
had
doing, but
two gun cases, one small one and one big one. And
little
I moved
nonverbal
some guns
communication
from the little
time.
case to the big case just because, you know, her mom and dad were in there, and I just took all the guns to the back room. But that's after the fact.
This time, could I request a brief break?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll take a break for about 10 minutes.
Yeah. So the value of the testimony, I think, is in Alex Murdaugh's sudden on, sudden off thing, and you know, that's about the value there. But we've moved away from the technical details into the more subjective, right? And I prefer technical details to more subjective because, you know, what things mean in sort of subjective is harder to read because it's subjective and people act in different ways. Technical is a little bit harder to, you know, view. It's like I prefer technical details. So, but that's how I think as a person, is how I think as a potential juror. So other jurors might be the other way around. So I suppose in all due fairness, there might be jurors who less are inclined to look at technical details and more inclined to look at people's behavior and people's emotions. So I will only speak to what I like and what I don't like. So for me personally, where we were getting into sort of the technical aspects, okay, this is the casings we found. These are the shot shells we found. This is what we found in their house. This is the ammo that was used. It's the same head stamp. Now we're in their own personal shooting range, which is on their property. It's their property, their personal shooting range. And we're going around and we're finding ammunition casing, which presumably we're going to try to match against the casings that were used during the murders. It's like, okay, to me, that's a lot more interesting. And then we have this very long conversation, which I don't really know the value of, except in so much as Alex Murdaugh is like, with the emotion, it seems very on, sudden, and then seems like sudden off, right? So I can imagine a person being very easily triggered in this situation, right? Like a person is, you know, trying to keep it out of their mind for whatever, well, for lots of valid psychological reasons, to be quite honest, just out of self-preservation, to be quite honest. And so a person is trying to keep out the horror show of their mind, and a person is being sort of calm. But I can understand that facade being fairly easily broken because, you know, the brains and stuff being splattered all over the place. So they would be easily brought back to a place where they are remembering everything and stuff like that. Where I'm having a more difficult time understanding it from an emotional level is the sudden offset. So like, you know, if you're being driven into that place, that your ability to just regain control that fast seems a little artificial. Seems a little artificial to me. But, you know, that's reading tea leaves, which is not as much what I like. You know, I don't like to read tea leaves. I don't want to deal with that shit. I just want to deal with the technical. Give me facts, baby. I like facts. You know, not so much with, okay, these are the relationship and I know everyone in sight and here's about chicken and rooster and pig and he's, you know, it's like, okay, I don't care. But yeah. So we that's sort of what all the things I'm thinking about at the moment. So, yeah. And to the extent that they have cell phone data that puts them on the scene, to the extent that they have technical data, that's much more what I'm interested in. But yeah. Overall, though, I think the state has made their case more today than they have in the past. I think the state's case has not been very great in the past. I think at least today we're starting to get pieces that are going to go somewhere. And we don't have the connecting dots yet, but at least we have the pieces that make sense. So what they're going to try to do is they're going to try, apparently based on the preliminary hearing again, what they're apparently going to try to do is they're going to say, okay, we found these casings that were on their own personal private shooting range on their own land. It's their shooting range personally. And we found these casings on the shooting range. And then we also found these casings at the murder scene. And through some technological microscopic examination, we are able to say that these came from the exact same rifle. Even though we don't have the rifle, we can determine they came from the same rifle because, well, that's just how bad shit ass we are. We are just that good because extractors and because firing pins and because of whatever will wear a little bit differently on each individual firearm. We are able to reliably determine that they came from the same individual gun that we don't have. And because it's their own personal range that they personally own on their own personal property, right? Then the question is, okay, well, who had access to that? And the answer would be primarily, although not necessarily exclusively, the Murdaughs. And, so that would be the people that would have access to it. And so therefore, it is a gun that they owned, and therefore it is Alex Murdaugh did it because he had access to those guns. That's the idea we're going with. And I suppose the defense can counter that in a couple different ways. The defense can obviously counter it on the idea that we can uniquely match the ammo. So they can counter it that way and sort of X battle of experts, which I'm looking forward to at least a little bit because I'm looking forward to learning something about this field. Because again, this is outside my knowledge base, right? I know a little bit about forensic marking when it comes to bullets traveling down bores, but I know basically nothing when it comes to determining a unique match based on the ejected casing. This is outside my knowledge base. And so I'm looking forward to this on a technical level because I'm looking forward to learning something and the degree to which that can or cannot be done and the degree to which it is or is not possible in this particular case. So you have the idea that it can be done in general and also the idea that it can be done in this case, which also are not necessarily the same concept. But I'm looking forward to that and learning a little bit about that field. But then, of course, so that's one way the defense can attack it. The other way that they can attack it is by saying, well, that other people had access to the range, and which might be true, depending on it's their house and their property. So depending on, their proclivities, what kind of people had access to the range. And if it's someone, if the idea that the murderer would be someone that they knew is also not that strange, because most of the time when someone kills someone else, it's someone they know, right? So the idea that it would be someone, if assuming that they allow people access to the shooting range other than the family, that it could be one of those people that commit the murders is not exactly like groundbreaking, because again, the idea that someone they knew is the murderer, it's more often than not, right? It's more often someone you know rather than a stranger. So there's that idea, and that the firearm became lost. Now, if they're going to try to say it was the firearm that was lost, that makes little sense, because if the firearm was lost, but it was also lost to someone who then used that exact same firearm for the purpose of committing the murder, that's a lot of planning and prep, man. I'm just saying, man, that's like, we held onto this gun, man. We used exactly this gun for the murders like 4 years later so that we could frame them. That's a lot of prep. So I wouldn't necessarily go down that road without something more substantial. I wouldn't go down on a pure speculative basis on that idea. That's not going to work. So yeah, 500 likes. Thank you for the 500 likes. Thank you for the 500 people subscribing it. Yeah. And what would the motive? Yeah. What would the motive be? Well, again, if we're trying to speculate into existence, people other than Alex Murdaugh who had motive or could have motive, if we're trying to speculate into existence, people that could have motive other than Alex Murdaugh, like, it's not that hard to think of some people, right? So his son was in this boating accident, so it could be a revenge thing, if not necessarily from the family, perhaps someone else, maybe someone who was close to the deceased in some way, a friend of the deceased maybe. So it could be a revenge thing, or it could just be a random stranger who wanted to exact revenge for their own like private purposes because they were so outraged by it. So pool of candidates number one, some sort of revenge motive tied to the boating accident is pool number one. Pool number two of potential suspects. Well, Alex Murdaugh apparently stole $10 million from his clients. So, all those people, plus their spouses, plus like their children and shit. So the pool of people that he stole the $10 million from is a pool. And then pool number three that makes sense as long as we're speculating into existence possibilities is that Alex Murdaugh owed some money to some shady people. I mean, if you believe his financial shit that he was, if you believe all the financial stuff that he did, the idea that he was in some business dealings with some shady people is not exactly outside the realm of possibility. that some of these shady people did it for, whatever reason. Alex Murdaugh owed them money and wasn't paying. He pissed them off. Just generally because it's how they roll, right? There's some possibilities there. So those are sort of the three possible candidates of pools of people. If we're looking for candidates of people other than Alex Murdaugh, then those are your candidates of people. But then again, so that's your sort of alternative possibilities. But then again, we have to get to, if the state is able to show that the rounds recovered at the murder scene are the same gun as rounds recovered from the shooting. From the shooting range. So if they're able to show that, then we have to figure out okay, then of those pools of people, then which of them had access to the shooting range, where is this other gun and such, and we're moving a little bit into realms that are a little bit more difficult. And of course, the defense can't argue any of this without evidence, because the evidence is the state they're not allowed to make up shit either. But as long as we're sitting outside the courtroom looking for reasons to make up stuff, well, there's some possibilities. But I don't know what's possible. And yeah, the defense would have absolutely investigated those options, and maybe they have some evidence, but they can't argue something from nothing. They have to. All attorneys must have a good faith basis to argue their position. So they would have to have some evidence that would lead them to that conclusion. So, but we can speculate because we're cool. I don't think, no, he didn't plead guilty to the housekeeper. I don't think so. If he's not convicted, he will not be in jail for the rest. At the moment, he's being held in bond for this issue. So unless I'm unaware of something else that's true, then assuming that he's found not guilty, he'd be released because his bond will be disgorged, or his bond will be dissolved. So unless he's been assigned bond in one of those other cases, and even if he has, that it's a no bail bond seems impossible for a financial case. So one would imagine that he'd be able to bond himself out, assuming that he still has funds, which I don't know if he does, but maybe he does. So, they're not going to hold him without bond in a financial case. So, yeah. They were trying to suggest Paul did it in the opening statement. What about the financial stuff? As I've mentioned, he stole $10 million from his clients. He is currently facing 106 felony counts in 16 different indictments, I think, for bank fraud, wire fraud, mail fraud, honest services fraud, and everything else. So there's the 16 other indictments with 106 other pending felony counts. So he's having some bad days. So yeah, but if the state really screws this up, and there's still a possibility of them really screwing this up, if they really screw this up, they could prejudice all those other cases because they would prejudice the jury pool, right? If they really make themselves look like Benny Hill or something, and there's a real possibility of that where we're going, there is a possibility the state basically prejudices themselves so hard that basically they just fail everything. So total and absolute failure of all the cases pending is a non-zero possibility at this point. Yeah. So there are some real possibilities of everything going wrong. I don't think his son will testify at all. His son's been in the courtroom this whole time, so I don't think his son will testify at all.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. For the record, we're resuming with the publishing of Stacy 7243, and we're picking up at 36 minutes and 15 seconds in the video. I'm actually going to back it up 10 seconds just since we took a break.
We haven't invoked sequestration?
You know, her mom and dad were in
Really?
there, and I just took all the guns to the back room.
Why?
But that's after the fact.
Okay.
Would those guns have been in the room, in the gun room when we came up there with John?
I can't remember exactly when y'all came, but probably. I think y'all came a little bit, because it was a good while before y'all came.
Let me ask you one thing right here. You had earlier shown some body cam footage of your...
If they're going to allow Buster to
correct?
testify
Yes, sir.
while being in the
Ultimately,
courtroom this
that day
entire
on June 8th,
time, that would be
2021, did agents
strange.
also go to other areas of the residence
Okay.
to look for any other firearms that fit the description or fit the caliber of the two weapons from the murder scene?
Yes, sir, they did.
And by two weapons, I should say two calibers from the murder scene.
Yes, sir.
And that would be 300 blackout and 12 gauge.
That is correct.
All right. So ultimately, these weapons
This
that were
is
seized, those are the only ones
telling
that
me.
were matching those two calibers.
That's correct.
I know I have to just present incredulity. You're telling me that both sides really didn't move for the witnesses to be sequestered. Why would you do that? Why would you not sequester the witnesses? Wow. If that's true, then my mind just goes. Okay, I'm gonna turn back on the volume now because all right.
You know, he was the worst.
He would leave a gun out there.
He would leave anything anywhere. And, you know, it was not unusual for there to be guns out there.
Did y'all take the
But, I can tell you that, they told me that a 300 blackout was used in this. That 300 blackout, it was not out there.
So y'all didn't use
Did the
that for target
prosecutor
practice,
recover
or he
bullets
didn't have it
fired
out
at
there
the
with them
range
on
to
Monday?
compare ballistically to the ones pulled from the wife?
No.
I don't know the
No,
answer
that's
to
right,
that
it was in the
question.
house.
I don't know if any bullets were recovered at the
What
range.
did the defendant tell you about whether or not there was a 300 blackout present at the kennels on the night of the murders?
He said it was not out there.
So Paul said that one was stolen or lost, and it was some time ago. Was that reported anywhere?
It wasn't officially reported because I
Thank you for
wasn't
the super
totally
chat, by the way. It's
convinced it
appreciated.
was stolen.
Okay.
As opposed to lost. But there was people told about it.
Yeah.
I know that I told John Bedingfield about it. I know that I told some other local officers about it, just in case it turned up in a drug thing.
Okay.
But I didn't do an official report.
Okay.
So they left the gun out there at the shooting range and it was stolen. And okay, fine.
The two that you bought for the boys, that each one of them had one, and the one Paul lost, is that the only ones that you have?
Well, I'm gonna tell you this. I thought that Paul got another one replaced, but Buster said we didn't. But I was certain that we did. But, my memory is it's been gone for a substantial while, too.
After that long pause, what did Alex Murdaugh, the defendant over there, tell you about the third blackout?
To his memory, it had been gone for a substantial amount of time, too.
Okay.
Do you remember anything about them?
I bet a lot of you
Or
guys
were they
didn't
the
know
same
that
color?
there's not
They
requirements
were
to report stolen
identical
firearms
except
in
for
all
colors.
jurisdictions.
Okay.
I bet a lot of you guys didn't know that.
Which one was Buster's?
Buster's the one we still have.
Many
Paul's the
jurisdictions
one that
don't
lost
require you to
his.
report stolen firearms. Apparently, South Carolina is one of them.
What were the two colors?
Black
So,
and tan.
Good. So,
Buster's is black, Paul's was tan.
yep.
Okay. And you say you thought you replaced it after he lost it, or with another one, but Buster says you didn't?
I believe that we did.
Okay.
I mean, there'll be a record of that, won't it?
Should be, yes, sir.
I know we replaced it. But, you know, I wouldn't, I know we replaced it because I wouldn't replace it again. Maybe I just think that now, I don't know. But I'm certain we replaced it.
Have you talked to CB Rowe since Monday or Tuesday?
Yes, sir.
Because I know we talked about what he had done on the farm. Have y'all, is he still employed?
He's still employed because I got to have somebody keeping it clean, but I can't keep him. I mean, he's an
Yeah,
idiot.
whether or not you have to report stolen firearms is a state-by-state thing.
And, you know I told you, I don't know why that story seemed important to me the other night.
Yeah.
I really can't see CB Rowe doing, I just can't. I really do not believe that.
Well, I mean, it's an odd story.
It's a messed up story.
And, you know, and I'm just, being in law enforcement for so long and working these type cases.
Most things in the United States are
I don't
state-by-state.
know the Islandton area, but talking
There's
to
a default
Colony
presumption.
County
You can just assume that
and
things are
seeing the
state-by-state.
property and how
Reasonable
isolated it
assumption.
is.
It's the nature of our federalized republic. You know,
that late at night.
it's the nature of our
that
it's the,
doesn't
na- it's the
know the
nature of our
property.
system.
You know, that's so. Of course, I have to look within and then start working my way out.
So you feel like it's not random. You feel like it's intentional. I mean, planned.
I don't know what to feel right now. And I hate to say that. I don't know what to feel right now.
So do y'all have any good clues?
All of the evidence that we collected.
I've seen 2 lawyers on the witness list who said there's
Tuesday
no
morning,
sequester and they can
and we
talk.
collected additional
Also
evidence
noted
on
many of the
on
people in the
Tuesday
gallery
afternoon.
are also on list.
Marine, that is
We collected
crazy.
evidence.
I
at
just
autopsy
assumed that
So
everyone who was in the
we're
gallery had
trying
been
to put a rush
released
on that
and
to get an
told
answer
that they won't be
quick.
called to testify.
And
I mean, I know some of them were
that's
on the
gonna tell us
list
something.
at
By
one
evidence,
point.
I mean,
I just
is
assumed
it
they've all been
things you
told that they
think
won't be
gonna be
called
helpful?
and they've all been released.
Well, I mean,
Was my
the shot
assumption.
shells out there.
But if that assumption is wrong and they're still subject
the
to being
DNA
called,
swabs that we
Wow.
took from the door handle to see if anybody touched the door handles,
Wow.
any other places that we think somebody may have touched while they were out there. You know, we're trying to collect DNA from that and analyze that. Which at the conclusion of this, what I'm going to also ask is that we get a buccal swab, a DNA swab from you.
No problem.
Your DNA is going to be there, but we need to eliminate it once it's developed. So, you know,
We don't need
so-
that unknown,
yeah.
and it actually is a family member.
There's no problem.
I mean, we have talked to close to 100 people trying to track people down, and we're still tracking people down. And that's why, you know, who
maybe he's
Paul
trapped
was
on a
with.
fish bee.
I want to tell you one thing while I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
Paul was really an incredibly intuitive little dude.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, he was like a little detective. And, I mean, Paul would, you know, you know what
Yeah.
I'm trying to say?
Yeah. Which leads me to, let's go back to Paul right quick while we're on him. So we have his phone. Do you know his passcode?
I don't. And I'm going to tell you this right now. There's a few people I can point you to,
Yeah.
but I can tell you that he was super, super, super secretive with that, I mean, cell phone. I asked his brother if he knew it. Did the ones that they got the other day didn't work?
Did y'all get any the other day?
Not for Paul's phone. No.
Okay. I know they got Maggie's code.
I know
network.
Maggie's.
Yeah.
And it works, or it worked.
Yeah.
I've not gotten it, but there's a lot of people out moving parts that may have gotten that information. So we'll follow up on it. If you believe somebody gave us a code for Paul's, or a possible code for Paul's.
Maybe it was Maggie's. I don't know.
Okay.
But I'll find out. I will try to find out Paul's code.
Okay.
But it will surprise me greatly if somebody knows it.
I mean, certainly, talking about the investigation, certainly we're looking at every angle, trying to figure out what fits. And we're
I think you have to here in Virginia.
People that were involved in
Well,
the
I haven't
case.
lived in Virginia in
We're
a couple of years. It didn't used to be the case in
Paul knew
Virginia,
and
but
friends with. That's why I asked
maybe they
you
changed
who
the
he
law
was
and you have to
talking with,
report now.
so we can go try and see if they might know something or try to figure something out. We're trying to get into his phone to see if there's any information, see if he got like a direct threat from somebody there.
If that's the law in
the
Virginia
people
that you have to
are here
report, that's
are
probably
not
been
the only
changed in
ones
the
working on
last.
this. We've got people out
Like
doing
3 or
things
4
right
years.
now.
Thank you.
I mean, we're trying to pull everything in. Just the area, Islandton, unfortunately, there's not a lot of people moving around. I mean, I've got somebody looking at videos right now back at the office, combing through hours of videos that we've gone out and collected.
Well, thank y'all.
Yeah.
Very much.
So,
Mr. Alex.
You don't have to call me Miss. You just
I'm
call me
sorry.
Alec. Thank you for that
Alex,
courtesy.
when you and Paul got back to the house, Miss Maggie's there, and y'all eat supper, which has been prepared, and you said you laid down and took a little nap, and when you got up, Maggie and Paul was gone, or did they leave when you laid down? Or before you laid down?
I believe that. I'm not sure.
But they weren't there when you woke up around the 9 o'clock mark or so when you made the call to Maggie to let her know you was going to your
No, nobody was in that house when I left.
So, and just trying to narrow that, the last time that you saw Paul and Maggie's when y'all were eating supper.
Yes, sir.
Asked the defendant, when was the last time he saw Maggie and Paul? What did he tell you?
When it was eating supper.
Until you came back from your mom's and found what you found.
Alex probably told y'all this. He did check for a pulse.
Yes. Right, and that's why we want to do the DNA. Right.
I don't know.
You guys want to get a jump on retweeting tomorrow?
when you tried to turn
yeah, Buster's
Paul over,
real name is the same as his father.
do you know if you tried to turn him
Richard Alexander Murdaugh
towards
Jr.
the kennels or away from the kennels? And his
There's a
phone
link
fell
at
out.
Mara's
Away.
Twitter.
I think I turned him away.
Mara's tweet, if you want to.
Was he left-handed or right-handed?
He was right-handed.
Where did he normally keep his phone?
I mean, usually in his hand. But
The defendant was asked during this interview where Paul normally kept his phone. What did he say?
Usually in his hand.
I mean, it was, it was always on him. Pocket, hand, truck.
Where did Maggie carry her phone? Anywhere she could?
Yes, sir. Did y'all get fingerprints on her phone?
I haven't gotten that back yet.
When Paul's phone came out.
Do you guys like my thumbnail for tomorrow?
Did you
With
just
the
pick it up
moss
and put it
covered
on,
gate?
place it back down on him?
Sunrise. I thought it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, I did not try to open it or anything. I don't know how I had in my mind that I needed to not mess anything up. I had that, somehow I had that presence of mind that I needed to not mess anything up. And so I tried not to.
I had the presence of mind to know to not mess anything up, having seen my son's brains spattered all up over the floor.
Picture, and I know it's not hard, or not easy. I know it's hard. And sitting here talking today is tough.
It's just so bad. They did it so bad.
You asked the defendant about the traumatic picture that he saw of Paul and Maggie. What did he say?
It's just so bad. I did him so bad.
I did him so bad.
Yes, sir.
He's such a good boy, too.
I did him so bad. I'm not going to read too much into that, to be honest.
But the little things that we've got.
I understand.
Is necessary so that we can get a little better picture as to what may have happened.
Well, I just thank y'all for everything. My in-laws, my parents, my in-laws, I would like somebody to update me or my brother or somebody so that I can tell them as y'all discover things. Unless there's some reason y'all don't do that.
Well,
I mean, they just have so many questions.
I understand. And
I mean, they may even, well, no, they don't.
well, I mean, I know Maggie's mother just had a knee replacement. How was their health overall other than that?
They're ailing a little bit. They're getting on up there. Daddy has some neuropathy, but I mean, they're in good physical health. They're in good, their fortitude is good. They're just, they're just getting age on them,
Yes, sir. Are they in Somerville or are they at the house on Moselle?
No, they didn't. They lived in Somerville.
Okay.
But they're here now.
They're here
monetized.
No, they're in Moselle.
Okay. Because I'll go by and speak with them and meet with them. If you think that would help.
I think that would help a tremendous amount if you would just be willing just to sit down and let them. Hearing from me and John Marvin and Danny and whoever, what little tidbits y'all get, I just, I think it would give them peace of mind to know that y'all got a team of people out there on it.
Yes, sir.
And just to really have something, a tangible person instead of being told.
You got a contact number for them?
Yeah, I'm getting ready to get that.
Okay.
Tech lawyer, that's cute. Sloppy leading evidence destroyers. Yep. Sled hasn't changed that much since I left South Carolina, is what I've learned from this trial. Sled is still sledding all over the place. I guess it's nice to know some things have changed.
And I know you're changed off the phone. Y'all can
You're talking about the tower itself.
Yeah.
Her mom and dad are just such good people. I mean, they're just
Doing all
wonderful
that, some of the
people.
other guys are back at home.
Love her so much, and
Everybody we can deal
it
with.
really would make them feel good.
What are their names?
Someone wake me up when we move on to something else,
My
please.
father-in-law's name is Terry.
But yes, we
My mother-in-law's name is Kennedy,
can also get
and they're Brandstetters. And my sister-in-law, who in her
Spell Brandstetter for me.
Brandstetter, and then my sister-in-law, who was closest to Maggie in the whole world, is Marion Proctor. Yeah. And her husband is Bart Proctor. And they live in Charleston.
Thank you,
Do
Lorraine.
you have a contact number?
Appreciate your
for
compliment.
any-
I know their numbers.
Okay.
843.
Your Honor,
We've-
this time I'm going to mute the video with consent of the defense, just so that that number is not broadcast.
Yes, Your Honor, we agree.
No, finally keeping a number off the record. Oh, okay. I wonder if any of the numbers that have been broadcast so far have received some phone calls. Did we learn from a mistake we made? Did we learn from a thing?
promise you, Alex, someone that my life depended on it, I couldn't tell anybody, my mother-in-law or father-in-law.
I'm telling you, man, I've been the luckiest person in the world with in-laws. I mean, they are wonderful.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, it's my in-laws that I like, it's my wife's in-laws I don't.
There you go.
Let me grab a piece of paper, I'll be right back.
It's your wife's in-laws you don't like? That's funny. That's a good comment. I like that.
Here's Will's Chapman's number. Okay.
Mute it because another contact number is given, I believe, with consent of the defense.
Yes, Your Honor.
Did he say they, not I?
Is it just me, but does he sound like Sling Blade in this interview?
Maybe a little.
You want me to dig them up?
And Dave,
Nice
I'm
super
looking
chat.
forward to you.
Thank you, Joanna.
Maybe you don't want me to do it like that, but
Okay.
someone sent me Will's Chapman's
Hold on to
number.
that, please.
Gave it.
James said he's looking for someone to stream with him tonight. Well, if James comes on at a reasonable hour, he's happy to join me.
Contact information. Yeah, I think it's just the phone number. Yeah, all I got was the phone number.
No one wants to join my live stream. It's very
So we
sad
have,
for me.
Victim's advocate, Miss Marion Walker.
Thank you.
That's her cell number.
Thank you.
There's some information for you on the back. In the Victims Advocate Program, they help with different things. I think more specifically, what would be more beneficial, especially for you and Buster, is some counseling down the road, grief counseling.
You know, I do some assistant solicitor's work.
Yeah.
So, you know,
yeah, you're familiar with
familiar
it.
with the thing. But thank you so
Yes, sir.
much.
Discussion about victim's advocate. What did Mr. Murdaugh tell you?
Oh, thank you, Friday. I'm in love. That's very kind.
That he did some
Aw, thank
assistant
you, Abby.
solicitors
Oh, that's nice.
work, and he was familiar with the program.
And again, what is an assistant solicitor?
He's a prosecutor which prosecutes criminal offenses.
Okay. Criminal prosecutor?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I know y'all planned out the funeral today. When is the funeral?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The funeral's tomorrow.
We're doing a service tomorrow. Maggie and Paul aren't going to be ready until next week. So we're doing a service tomorrow, and then we're going to have a private family thing one day next week.
Okay. Okay. Are y'all doing anything tonight? Because I can run by and talk to Terry and Kennedy tonight.
I think the sooner you can come and talk to them, the peace of mind that would really help them.
Okay.
That's convenient for you. So we're out at the house tonight, but and if for some reason they go back early because of the service tomorrow, that they may be staying tonight, they may not be, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
All of their cousins and family on the Branstetter side and the Hubbard side is coming in from Kentucky. And so they may be going back to stay with them.
Okay.
I'll find out and call you. I think you called me.
Yes, sir.
I don't think this interview is the next
This
day.
interview on June 10th, 2021. To your knowledge, had there been another death in the family?
At this point, it had not.
Okay. Was there one not long after this?
Yes, it was.
And who died?
Mr. Alex's father,
And what was his name?
Randolph.
Jim's got my number.
Okay.
I gave him my phone.
I'll find out and
Okay.
call you in just a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a few days later.
You good?
Nobody's better than Branca. Branca definitely has a unique style.
All right.
A Girl Scout. I thought I was first in
I
her
might be
heart.
able to answer right now that we hadn't gone over.
Damn it.
No, sir.
As soon as I get something, and if it's okay with you, John Marvin asked me to go through him.
That's fine.
So I'm not bothering you in case you're doing something. What time is the service tomorrow?
12 o'clock,
Okay. Where is that going to be?
Hampton,
What, at the church or?
it's graveside.
Okay. So if I get something around that time, I won't bother you. I'll wait 1:30 and.
If you get anything important, you can call me anytime.
Okay.
Anytime.
Okay. Are y'all going to publicize the service, or is it just going to be for family and friends?
No, sir. It's going to be, it's going to be open, but I got TC and those making sure I don't want any press anywhere
You
near.
meant that having nobody on is better than having Branca on?
You know,
They don't deserve to be near.
they're going to make sure,
Nobody's better than Branca.
in the town of Hampton that, there's no press.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, y'all got my numbers.
I think you said with that phone, it'll take a while.
I'm gonna go check on it. Y'all go back in the house. When it's done, I'll bring it to you.
Let me do the
Oh, the buckle, yes. Let's do the buckle swab right quick.
You can sit where you at, Alex, and I'm gonna step out, but I got plug up and.
Oh, what?
The buckle.
There was a question asked about, do you think he's through with that phone? What were they talking about?
Mr. Alex's phone, which he had given to us to do a download on.
Yeah, I invited Branca on. but he
Dylan
turned me
Hightower.
down, which is
That was
fine,
occurring while this interview was going on?
No
Yes, sir.
disrespect.
Now you're discussing the buccal swab, is that correct?
That is correct, yes, sir.
The buckle swab, yeah.
Oh, do I need to spit out my tobacco?
Yeah.
And I'll get everything together.
I'm doing the consent now.
That's fine. I'm going to go ahead and
Where's your gloves at?
You didn't grab gloves?
I did not, but I know one of these vehicles has got gloves. I'm not in mine.
For the record, at this point in the video, we're at 1 hour and 2 minutes. What happens next? What, if anything, are you about to do?
I'm fixing the glove up. I'm going to secure the cotton swabs, the sterile cotton swabs, and getting ready to do the buccal swab
And who do you do the buccal swab of?
on Alex Murdaugh.
And the person you've been describing as Alex, the person you interviewed, do you see him in the courtroom here today?
Yes, sir, I do.
Can you identify him for the jury,
He's
please?
sitting at the defense table with the, looks like navy blue blazer on.
Thanks for gift of membership. You already did redeem it. You got the little scales by your name, so you redeemed your membership. If you'd like to maintain it, you can of course choose to extend it after it expires.
Thank you. I'm going to show you real quick what's been marked as State's Exhibit 157 and see if you recognize that.
Yes, sir, I do.
All right, and can you tell the jury what that is?
That is the buccal swab which I collected from Mr. Alex Murdaugh.
Nikki, sled still sucks.
And this time I would offer
They
State's
sucked 20 years ago and they still
157
suck.
I believe, without
That's
objection.
funny.
Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Submitted without objection.
This is the buccal swab you took that day that's on the video?
Yes, sir, it is.
After that, where did that buccal swab go?
It was turned over to crime scene and went to the lab for testing.
And is it general practice with any sort of evidence like this to secure it from any tampering while it's turned over to crime scene?
Yes, sir, it is.
And the writing on the back of this evidence slip, whose writing is that?
That would be David Owen, and he collected by Jeff Croft.
No, thank you.
What is this? Apparently, Judge Darrow of the Brooks trial wants to open an indoor gun range.
States 219, states 220. And just generally see if you recognize those particular documents.
He apparently purchased the Heartland Sportsman's Club and wants to turn it into an indoor. She wants to turn it into an indoor shooting range that will double as an event space that can, quote, host weddings, convention, and high-end meetings. Okay.
Yes, sir, I do.
All right. That's a
And
thing that's
generally
apparently happening.
Property
She's also
receipts
apparently
for
applied for a
items
liquor
that were seized
license.
during the searches at the residence.
That you previously described to this jury?
Yes, sir.
Firearms evidence and the
Okay.
like?
That is correct.
Right.
Your Honor,
That's
this time I'm
happening
gonna say we move
apparently.
218, 219, and 220 into evidence, I believe without objection.
Submitted. There.
I mean, what really could you say beyond that? I mean, that's just the thing that's occurred. Okay. I mean, no, they've already thought about the issue with the things. The city documents outline the proposed club's alcohol safety policy, where anyone buying alcohol would get a hand stamp and would not be allowed into gun ranges. Preliminary breath tests will be available to test suspected
All right, I'm going to show you
individuals.
what's been marked as State's Exhibit 156.
No,
and we'll
it's
get you
all
to pull out
good.
Your, in fact, though, if the clerk, y'all have a pair of scissors I could borrow real quick?
Thank you, Friday I'm in Love, for 20 gift memberships. That's really, really kind of you. Appreciate it.
All right, I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 156. And I'm going to ask you, if you could, to open the sealed pouch at the top so we can see what's inside, if we could, please.
Yeah, let's get to 600, Sahar. I agree. No word on whether or not the sporting club will include box forts. Unspecified in the article describing the thing. She is also running for state Supreme Court. Yes, she's also doing that. In addition to running for state Supreme Court, she's also trying to open an indoor gun range.
All right, now I'm going to
Wedding venue.
ask you to hold on to that one.
Bar. So,
I'll ask you to return these
both
back
those
into
things.
that pouch, if you could, please.
Thank you, Janet.
All right, I'm going to put 156 on this particular exhibit, and can you tell the jury, if you recognize that, what that is, please?
That is the buccal swab that was collected from Rogan Gibson.
Who collected that buckle swab?
I did.
Did Rogan consent to that buckle swab?
He did.
And did you secure it from any tampering and turn it over to crime scene?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, at this time I would move States 156 into evidence, I believe without objection.
No objection.
You're admitted, or it's admitted without objection.
Apparently, they also want to host holiday events like Easter egg hunts and Halloween festivities.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as States 155. For identification at this time, see if you recognize this particular item.
Yes, sir, I do.
And tell me generally what that is, please.
It's a property receipt for the buccal swab that we took, or I took from Mr. Alexander Murdaugh.
And that's the one from the video that has been played for the jury?
Yes, sir, it is.
At this time, Your Honor, I can move States 155 into evidence, I believe, without objection.
Admitted.
2 monkeys have been kidnapped at the Dallas Zoo? What?
Court's indulgence, 1 moment. Your Honor, that would conclude the Straight's direct examination of Senior Special Agent Crawl.
Okay.
And I think we will call it a day and start at 9:30 tomorrow morning. Please do not discuss the case.
How do you steal monkeys from a zoo? And why?
Are there any matters we need to address before the recess? All right, we'll be in recess till 9:30.
Okay. Well, great. Sell on the black market? Sure, why not? Let me send a message to James and see. Okay. Wanna pop on. I'll just send him a link in case he can come on while I'm still streaming. So I'll just send him a link right away. See if he pops on while I'm wrapping up for the day. Well, I really don't really know where that interview really was meant to go or what it was meant to illuminate. There was a line apparently like I did him wrong or something like that, which maybe it was they. But either way, I'm like, if the state's going to argue that's a confession, I'm like, but it just didn't do that much for me personally, to be quite honest. But what's doing, because that can mean a lot of things, like I did him wrong or something like that, or it's like that can mean a lot of things, especially in context. It's like, I don't know. So I think the best that we sort of got is the start of what might be the best concrete evidence against the defendant. And sort of the start of that, we've got the rounds that were recovered at the scene versus rounds that were kept in apparently in the firearms themselves, or in different firearms, I should say, on the property. So in different firearms on the property are kept rounds that match the rounds found at the scene. Same manufacturer, same brand, same type. And that seems to be true of the rifle rounds. And I'm not sure the degree to which that's true of the shotgun rounds, because they went into a lot of detail about the shotgun rounds, but I don't remember like the degree to which it overlapped or not. So I'm a little bit vague on that point in terms of how much there was overlap between the shotgun rounds and that were found at the murder scene versus the ones that were found in the house, because there's more ways of identifying a shotgun round. Because shotgun rounds not only come in gauge, but they come in different pellet types and different lengths. So there's arguably more ways to compare a shotgun casing than a bullet casing, because a bullet casing you can only really determine manufacturer and the caliber. With a shotgun shell, you have the caliber, which is gauge. You have the manufacturer,
Give
and then
it to
you also
DC,
have.
You are so open to comments compared to EDB. Just me. I agree with you. Yep.
Thank you very much. That's very nice, Delilah. I appreciate that very much. But there's more ways to, because you not only do caliber, you not only do manufacturer, but you can measure it based on the length, because shotgun shells can come in 2 3/4, 3 and 3.5 are common sizes. Others are possible. And also you can measure based on the pellets that are in there, which you could determine by recovering pellets on the scene and then the shot size of them. So you can match it that way too. So there's arguably more ways to match a shotgun shell than a rifle round. But and Alex Murdaugh is being led out of court right now and into the van, so being kept in the sheriff's thing, so being led away from court right now. So that's the end of the day. But yeah, but what we don't really have yet is sort of any indication of being able to match these particular rounds to like in terms of their forensics. So that's where we started coming into today, or at the back half of today with this guy, where we started coming into that, where we're teeing this up, right? We don't have it yet, but we know we're going there because we know from the preliminary the state wants to go there. So we know where the state wants to go, or at least we have a really strong idea. They want to be able to say that these particular rounds that were used came from the same gun that was fired at the Alex Murdaugh shooting range. and then like that narrows down the pool a lot. And of course there are possibilities, but you know, if you're able to show that, you know, if you're able to show that the rounds that were used at the murder are from the same gun that were used at the Alex Murdaugh shooting range, then that leads open a lot of that seems to really strongly point to Murdaugh. And there are ways to get around that, but the ways to get around that are smaller, right? Because you'd have to basically argue that you'd have to argue. Hold on. Okay, cool. You'd have to argue that either the bad guy somehow stole the firearms from Alex Murdaugh's house and then used them in the killings, and then took them with him, which seems a little bit unlikely because one would imagine that if they're there for the murder, they would bring guns with them. Probably didn't, you know, steal the guns and then do the murder. Probably a little bit unlikely. Or you'd have to argue that they were guns that previously were owned by Murdaugh and then stolen, some point substantially prior to the thing, mind you, and then used in the murders, which seems unlikely. Or you'd have to argue that they were rifles of people known to the Murdaughs that used their range, which seems a little bit more plausible, but still, like, who are those people? And, you know, you can't just speculate them into existence. So if we assume that there is a match between the ejected casings that were found at both locations, that's pretty strong circumstantial evidence of Alex Murdaugh's involvement. Finish Crypt gives 10 pounds to say hi, encourage chat.
On major catch up. Just wanted to say hello.
Thank you
Closing parenthesis.
Thank you very much for your super chat, Finish Crisp. It's really, really appreciated. Or Paul took the gun up there and was killed. Then they used Paul's gun on Mom. I suppose that's possible too. Paul took the gun up there to try to defend Mom. Mom was killed, and then they used that gun to kill Mom. Possible. I suppose that's possible. Paul lanced at someone, but didn't say who then went on to commit the murders. I mean, it seems a little bit more unlikely. Yeah. So if they're able to match it in a way that seems convincing, I think the defense definitely has their work cut out from them. Yeah, I think it seems unlikely. So, like, if we're thinking, you know, beyond reasonable doubt, like, is that reasonable doubt at that point? I don't know. That seems overly speculative. So, have they established time of death or no? I mean, not strictly speaking, no, because they don't have the medical examiner yet. But they previewed it in their opening and sort of the time frame. He would have had, if Alex Murdaugh did it, he would have had something like 17 minutes tops. It would have had 17 minutes tops to commit the murder, clean up, and then start the journey to Mom's house, which seems like a tight but not impossible time frame. But unless you really planned everything out in advance or really thought everything out in advance, it would be so difficult to get everything completely right in that time frame. But I suppose it's possible. So, and then he visited Mom, and then came back to the property, and 20 minutes later, the police were there. Thereabouts, I think. Maybe it was a little bit longer because I'd have to.
Defense, however irritating, raised reasonable doubt. But Mom had no defensive wounds. It would have had to be fast.
Yeah, I tend to agree, Della.
Person.
It is too early to call. The time frame is tight, especially with two different murder weapons that you would have had to clean up and get rid of all the blood and everything, and then drive over to Mom's house and then drive back and stuff. The time frame is tight. If the time frame is correct, well, that's what the prosecution's theory of the case is. So I'm going to assume that that's what they're going to try to prove. Thought she didn't have defensive wounds. No, I'm pretty sure that they said there were no defensive wounds, if I remember correctly from the opening. I think they said neither of them had defensive wounds. You know, it's pretty fast. It's pretty fast to clean up and get, you know, everything in condition and stuff like that. So it's pretty fast. And you know, he could have drove to mom or whatever, disposed of the clothes there. I mean, yeah, it's possible, but it's a tough time frame. It's a tough time frame. You think they were trying to argue that they were shot like from the ground based on the angles and stuff? How close are they from town for the police to get there in 20 minutes? They're far. Weren't they both shot from behind? I'm not sure. You might be right on that one. The Idaho case is an even tighter time frame. Well, what we don't know about the Idaho case is the forensics that are available fully, right? Because we don't know yet, like, what blood was found in the car. So the murders themselves happened very, very fast. But what we don't know in the Idaho case is what forensics are available or not. So, like, this would be the equivalent of, well, do we have the bloody clothes? Did we were able to find them? What's in the car? Was there blood in the car? We don't know this yet, right? So where the Idaho case would be comparable is if, for example, they find no blood from the victims in the car, because that seems difficult, especially because he was apparently acting so fast and in a panic because they drove away in his pace, right? So if they find no victims' blood in the car, it becomes difficult. If they do find blood victims, so if they find the victim's blood in the car, it becomes very, very damning. And it becomes and obviously we don't know what other forensics are available. Were they able to find the victim's blood in the home, in his home? Were they able to find it on his clothes? Were they able to find clothes, right? We don't know what the full evidentiary picture looks like against the Idaho person. So while the murders themselves happened in a very fast time frame, what we don't know yet is the forensics that are available. And here, by comparison, we have a much more full picture of the forensics and lack thereof. And so, like, well, he didn't have a lot of time, so could he have really cleaned himself up this fast, you know, and gotten rid of all the things? Did he have enough time to accomplish all those objectives? Is a reasonable question. If we wind up in a similar evidentiary picture with the Idaho person, we might very well be asking the same questions down the road. Like, did he have enough time to clean it up? Did he really have enough time to get everything ready? He was apparently, you know, he apparently was driving away in a panic, which makes sense. And then he managed to not get any of the blood in the car. So it's like, you know, yeah. So we don't know yet what the evidentiary picture looks like against the Idaho defendant. We have no clue. All we really know is that they have a knife sheath that they think they have touched DNA of him that's there, which, you know, is suggestive, but we don't know what else they have. So I'm going to try to kill a little more time in case James wants to show up. Where was Buster at the time of the murders? I don't think anyone suspects Buster. Who's James? James from court. One of the greater law tube, Mayu, who is there physically in person. So if we can get him to be there, that'd be cool. You just realized I did my colors the same as my logo. That wasn't really intentional, but now that you pointed out, the colors were just meant to be a little bit softer because my mom was saying that the colors I had chosen in the past were a little harsh. And so I was choosing a softer color palette, but it did wind up being the same colors as my logo, which was unintentional. I meant it the whole time. It was deliberate. Yeah. Over 600. Hey, over 600 likes. That's cool. I'll take that as well. These colors complement my skin. Thank you. Yeah. Friday, I'm in love. Thank you for the 20 gift additional memberships. Thank you very much. So we'll see. I was also experimenting with another color scheme. Okay, Google, change kitchen counter to rust. So I also had that one that I liked too. So, which is like sunset, tropical sunset. So that's nice too. I got programmable. I do have programmable lights. It makes my face look flushed. Does it? Okay. Got like 100 memberships today. Yeah, we did. Well, according to this, I got 43 memberships to be precise. Well, that's actually for this afternoon session. So for this morning session combined, you might be right. Flush on my face. Okay. Okay, Google, change kitchen counter to purple. I look flushed. All right, back to purple we go. Back to purple we go. I don't know if James is going to join us. I don't know if James is even seeing my message. I'm tired. I don't mind staying on for him, but if he's going to pop off, I'd like to, I'd like to leave if he's not going to come. I'll give him a couple more minutes. You think purple looks better? You liked rust? That was the color. It was rust. Yeah. Best viewership today. We did pretty well today on viewership. I think we hit 500 yesterday as well, but we did something like that. So we did well. The zoo alerted Dallas police on Monday that 2 of their emperor tamarin monkeys were gone and their habitat had been intentionally compromised. Well, okay. Maybe get a rim light for my face. I have a softbox right in front of my face. I have a light in my face already to illuminate that. Wasn't James going on with legal mindset this afternoon? I don't know anything about that. Yeah, and the light's about as bright as I want to make it because it's right in my eyes. Lip gloss. What time is it? It's 4:30. Can I share what lights I have? They're tagged in my Amazon page, but they're called Wiz. They're made by Philips. So not the Hue, but the Wiz, W-I-Z, is the lights that I have. They're quite a bit cheaper than the Philips Hue, and they do a very good job, at least in my opinion. Smile's what you need from these lips? Hey, smile for you, no problem. Are there light bulbs? Yes, there are light bulbs. Yeah, I have light bulbs in an overhead pendant. The light bulbs are currently colored gray, I believe, is the color they're set to. I'm Central Time Zone. It's 4:30 here at Central Time. I don't think he's coming. I thank you, Night Eyes. I appreciate it. I try to remain open-minded, just try to assess the evidence. And again, I just tell you what I think, like as a potential juror. Like I tell you what I think and what does and does not work for me. This is not necessarily what does or does not work for someone else. Right? It's just what speaks to me, what doesn't speak to me. So, a lot of what this is happening is not speaking to me. Maybe it's speaking more to some other juror who assesses it differently. But for me, like the technical evidence is where it's going to primarily get to. So if the state can get to where they want to be on the technical evidence, then I think they might have it. But I'm definitely keeping open-minded on the whole thing for sure. Try green on top? Like, you mean green where the gold is? Or do you mean green overhead? I don't have an option to purchase membership. I click on the $ icon, only offer super chat or sticker, no membership. I don't know the answer to that question, Marianne. It might be because on your device, perhaps it's because you're on a phone or something. But if you don't see the join thing, then that's where the little join link comes by. So from time to time, it gives you a little join link to join in case you don't see the thing so that you get the link. We can change the background to green and see what happens. Okay, Google, change kitchen cabinets to green.
All right, changing 2 lights to green.
Yeah. Okay, Google, change kitchen cabinets to dark green.
Okay, changing 2 lights to dark green.
Yeah. Okay, Google, change kitchen cabinets to forest green.
Okay, changing 2 lights to forest green.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about any of those things. I'm not sure about any of those things, to be honest. Green looks cool. Green was a lot. Yeah, apparently that is forest green. Apparently that's forest green, according to the app. Looks more blue to me, but apparently that's forest green. Okay. Teal. I sent him a link. I did send him a link. Purple on the shelf and gold in the counter. We've done that before too. He's just stalling so you get more time with me. That's fun. I need to look at the camera more often. I try to look at the camera as much as I can. All right, I guess I'm going to sign off for now. This has been fun. We will be back tomorrow at 8:30 Central, 9:30 Eastern Time with all the more uncivil law stuff. Don't forget to do the retweety things and all the rest of it. I'm going to sign off for now and try to get a little bit of break. I've been Uncivil Law. Until later, my friends, I hope all's well. Cheers, my friends. And goodbye.